It's a beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are live from the Thomas and Mack Center at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Hello and welcome, everyone. We are here for a historic moment in collegiate esports history. We've got the NCAA Men's and Women's Conference Championship taking place a basketball toss away, but we are here for the Mountain West Esports Showdown. Hello and welcome. My name is Bill Jump Carter, and I'm joined here with two fantastic individuals from Boise State themselves. We've got Jolly Freakin' Adam. How are you guys doing today?
Doing phenomenal, man. Just glad to be here and ready to see some head-to-head action.
Yeah, we are hype.
Like I said earlier, we have a wedding of two fantastic events, the Men's and Women's NCAA Basketball Championship heading over there for the Mountain West Conference, as well as the Mountain West Esports Showdown here. Now, I have to ask you guys, this is obviously a first-of-a-kind moment between Boise State and UNLV. What are your thoughts on this event so far?
As of right now, this is one of the first and only times that we, as the nerd community, if you will, are not being ostracized and, in fact, embraced by individuals who have never even picked up a controller, let alone keyboard and mouse for that matter, and it opens up the floodgates for what is next here in the not only world of esports, but sports in general, whether it's what's going on the court right now or what's happening here on these desks and on these screens.
Yeah, it's great to see, as you said, the marriage of these two sports and of esports being recognized as an official sport now. Being able to see varsity teams included with universities, it is a huge deal. And for Boise State as a smaller university to be involved in it as quickly as we are, and UNLV doing a separate club and being involved, it's incredible to see this community growing immensely.
Well, for those of you that are watching here as well as at home, we have 3 days of jam-packed action for you. It's going to be League of Legends, Overwatch, and Rocket League. Today, we are starting with the League of Legends exhibition matches. As you can see on your screen, 2 exhibition matches to showcase each team's individual skill. No winner today, but those are going to be the market research and the feelers for Saturday's main event, which is going to be the best of 3 to crown the League of Legends winner. Now, let's get into it. Let's get into a little of the nitty-gritty. I know you guys are obviously very familiar with Boise State and League of Legends. Let's talk about the Boise State team. Adam, I have to ask you first. What's been the biggest standout that you see for the Boise State squad?
As far as Boise State as a whole, they have a lot of players and a lot of different open-ended roles. We did have a lineup starting out right away that has been shifted a little bit than what we are used to, but it shows that these players are absolutely capable of filling roles they're maybe not comfortable with, and with that comes an intelligence of how that role functions, and so you can play around that in ways that if you just sit in bottom lane for the rest of your career, you're not going to understand. And so you'll see today someone who is typically an ADC for Boise State stepping up in the mid lane, and I'm very excited to see how that unfolds.
Well, you can see them on your screen. They are all smiles, ready to rock and roll for the show match today. Now, I've got to ask you, what's your standout moment or standout theme that you can see, rather, for Boise State roster coming into the show match today?
Well, you know, we've got a lot of pressure generally on the bottom lane focus when it comes to Boise State. However, we do have a general MVP that we know will maintain the lane. GetHawk 1 up in the top lane has proven time and time again that he can be versatile, he can be counterpicked, and he can still maintain his lane. So being able to see players in different positions, you know, I mean, we do have another mid laner that may be coming in. We might have Lynx show up in the bottom lane. But yeah, the versatility of these players is incredible.
And not only that, but they have the infrastructure to back up all of the tremendous play that we're going to see over the next couple of days, because Boise State does have a varsity program for this. You can see the player eligibility, full-time enrolled undergraduate student at Boise State, maintaining a GPA of 3.2 or higher, no professional career, so that's not active professional, nor have ever signed a professional contract. And then, of course, the classic NCAA style, have not yet exhausted 4-year eligibility. Now, as individuals that are obviously very familiar with Boise State, students yourselves, what has been the most exciting part about having this varsity program? Jolly, I'll start with you, of having that program at Boise State.
Well, the program has come out of nowhere. The most exciting thing is how much it's progressed so quickly. We had the Gaming, Interactive Media, and Mobile program included in Boise State just now, I think 3 years ago. And instantly, Chris Haskell, the guy who, or one of the individuals who created that program, has stepped in and done everything in his power to create and enhance this community, to be as involved as possible. So seeing a smaller school with a larger school come together and create something, even without the varsity side on UNLV, it's incredible. This community is as strong as it could be.
Well, we've got Boise State taken care of. Now let's kick over to the other team. It's going to be University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Adam, talk to me.
Well, as far as this team is concerned, I really do like the fact that Jolly brought up the club versus the varsity thing, because UNLV is actually just a club, not a varsity level entrance for these guys. So the camaraderie, the ability to play with each other is huge and monumental. And I'm not saying that's against Boise State per se, but that underdog sandlot playing together in a way that you're not getting your school funding maybe to the caliber of another team. And I am a huge proprietor of any team, any day. And so the communication, the team fighting, I'm very excited to see how this team meshes, and we might even see some obscure picks that we weren't anticipating because they're so comfortable playing together.
Well, we talked about the top lane and Gedhawk being a strength for Boise State. Now that we're talking about UNLV, what's the standouts for you for this roster?
So it appears that UNLV has a very, very heavy focus on their bottom lane. I was kind of mentioning that in the past, Boise State has as well. It's always a huge focus, but they're really going to be looking for those power picks, specifically for the ADC in the bot lane. Yeah, we're going to expect a heavy positive KD, so lots of focus there as well from the jungler on UNLV's side, but both support and ADC are very solid and a very heavy focus on UNLV's
Well,
team.
enough talk, enough chatter about what we think is going to happen. We've got the main event started here, the first game of the Mountain West eSports Showdown. It is going to be League of Legends. We are going to have University of Nevada, Las Vegas. On the blue side, it's going to be Boise State taking out the red. What are you seeing right off the bat here in this pick ban phase?
Well, initially, the very first pick, pretty standard stuff, Jolly, if you don't agree.
absolutely.
Galio is very, very strong right now in the mid lane, just absurdly tanky. His ability to move around the map with his ultimate hero's entrance is huge. But then immediately going to pick number 2, Warwick. Very, very strong jungler, yes. I do feel perhaps that there are stronger picks that were available, things like, Sejuani that we're seeing every game. Not so much Jarvan as much, but I do know that Sulpan absolutely loves that individual. So it looks like they might be looking for jungle priority from Boise State right off the bat, maybe just free up Sulpan.
Yeah, and Warwick, he is incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
He is a very basic jungler. He can get in, he can gank a lane, and he can go right back into his jungle and maintain CS, maintain the damage that he needs to deal. We've got, on the other side as well, we have Caitlyn now, so an ADC ban from UNLV, and then a Boise State ban of Tarek. So focusing that bottom lane as well. So just really, really strong champions at the moment. Not focusing any lane in particular, if I would say, but just taking out anything that they know is meta is very strong, and possibly doing some research on the players themselves. Right. I do know that UNLV's jungler is a big fan of Warwick. Okay. So maybe Boise State did a little bit of investigation and is just trying to get rid of their top played champions.
And the second that you mentioned not banning out a lane, it looks like UNLV getting rid of Callista. So now we do have a target priority ban on Red Hot, so his pool of champions is starting to shrink. Same for Mahad, I am assuming, if those lanes are correct. And again, Callista just very, very strong, kind of obnoxious to deal with. And as far as Caitlyn is concerned, her ability to zone with the traps right now, this pure damage and range she has is unprecedented. To finish up bans, Brand, not too super obscure there, but this is huge right now. A Xayah first pick. This is exactly what we were talking about with UNLV. You want to talk about power play champions? Xayah is her. I mean, we can see a 1v4 quadra kill in the pro tiers kind of thing. So I'm very curious to see how that will unfold and who they will pair her up with, but a great first round pick.
Yeah. And something that you have to consider as well is you're putting a lot of faith in your bot lane when you're first picking that 80 carry. You allow for the counter pick to happen. You have told not only yourself but the enemy team right off the bat, Xayah is what we want. Mahad needs to be on a champion of that caliber.
Absolutely.
And as a result, you can already see a solid lockdown with the Rise being picked up and not hovering anything yet, but with 10 seconds left remaining.
Definitely looking at, all right, Sulpan possibly there on the Jarvan. I would expect a pair up with Xayah. A Rakan would be phenomenal, especially picking her first. So we will most likely see that, and if we don't, we will definitely see it in the second ban phase from Boise State. I know that Brett Barker-Lover is a fan of Rakan as well, and Rek'Sai, not an unexpected pick for UNLV, definitely a favorite jungler, solid all around, not super in the meta at the moment, but can absolutely do her job and more. So much mobility, so much versatility on that champion. So we'll see who Sovis is going to pick in the mid lane against that Rise. And we've got a Braum pick here for the support. So Xayah and Braum, which is a great matchup. His stand behind me, jump in, throw up, unbreakable. His concussive blows passive is phenomenal for Xayah. She can deal an incredible amount of damage. Once that stack goes off on the concussive blows, Xayah can do her blade collar, pull him back in, and just obliterate the enemy team, even if a jungle does decide to wander down into lane.
I'm very curious about this Jarvan pick too, because Jarvan did get hit a little bit by the nerf bat last couple of patches, but we do know that Sulpan is unbelievably comfortable on that champion, so we'll be looking for the counter pressure there. As final pick in round number 1, the 6th slot being picked up by Janna. Lynx knows that Adopted Lemons is absolutely disrespectful on this Janna. We saw a couple of matches in which Adopted Lemons was able to completely shut down engaged champions like a Zac, or possibly even a Rek'Sai. The second she drops in on an individual, if Janna is there, she'll be able to either Monsoon or Howling Gale. If anyone's kind of one of the stickier champions, they can definitely throw a Zephyr on it. Not to mention, Eye of the Storm is just so strong, whether you're throwing it on your ally or the tower. It seems to just do the exact amount that you need to stop someone from falling late. But yeah, ban phase number 2 now, moving on.
And Kled being banned by Boise State, again, not a very surprising pick. You can definitely tell that there has been some research, some investigation by Boise State. We do know that Kled is played quite often on Yule there in the top lane. So a good ban out here. And then we've got Kog'Maw as well from University of Nevada, Las Vegas, which is another great ban there. So they don't want to see the additional damage. They don't want to see Kog'Maw being able to poke down the Xayah from far away. They want to keep the Xayah zoned away. They want to defend her. So any champions that might be jumping in, they're banning. We've got an Orianna on the other side now from Boise State, another classic pick. And we've got our final ban now being made by UNLV. And it looks like Rumble is that pick.
And that's a top lane ban there from GetHawk, who does play a very, very strong Rumble as well. And the kind of back up on the Kog'Maw pick. Definitely trying to shrink the pool down, but that's what I was looking for. Even though they removed a handful of ADCs, Tristana is still pretty okay. Did receive a little bit of a nerf here in 8.5 to her rocket jump, as well as just standard damage ratios scaling down a little bit. Right now, League of Legends is very late game AD scaling kind of based. You're looking at about a 30-minute game unless something goes terribly wrong. And Tristana has a capable kit to make sure that once she hits that point, even at the 3-item burst, she's able to shred towers and individuals.
And you can see already from the composition that's being formed by Boise State, they are playing for the long game. You've got the scaling of Tristana, you've got the scaling of the Ryze, and they're offsetting that with not only the protection from the Janna in the early game from the ganks, as well as the Jarvan to show a little bit of extra pressure. But what I'm interested to see, and as these team compositions are figuring themselves out, what is Asla going to do? Because that early game pressure, we all know how strong Ryze and Tristana can get if they get to where they need to be at the end game. But the struggle is what happens if they're behind a team that excels very well after those first 2 item spikes for the blue here for UNLV.
And just to kind of wrap things up, we saw a final round Ahri and Cho'Gath, and then on the other side, I didn't quite get to see it last minute.
We had a Gnar top lane.
Okay, so we're going to put GetHawk on Gnar, a very, very strong champion. Again, you were talking about the compositions and things of that nature. Very, very, very curious. UNLV has an unbearably tanky team, but they have to get there, like you mentioned, and more so with things like Cho'Gath Consume. If he's starting to lose stacks, he's never going to recover. You start to look at Xayah, yeah, she has to get ahead to kind of make that work, but the bigger point is that with what we have seen from Boise State University is that they do have a little bit of an issue playing from behind. Small gold leads become monumental. The cracks start to widen when they're behind. So for as much as UNLV needs to make sure that they get ahead, Boise State, if they fall behind, has a tendency to kind of stall out, and they may not hit that late game spike that we were talking about.
And something that you have to keep in mind, you talked about the bot lane for UNLV.
Yes.
Janna, as we all have known for the history of League of Legends, is a very safe laner. She's very great at making sure that people do not kill her AD carry. However, there is the kind of conditional piece with Braum. Obviously, he has the Q, very conditional CC, you have to get the 4 auto attacks, but once that lands, that is not an attack, and that is not a form of CC that Janna can block.
Right.
It's not a Leona going in. It's not a Blitzcrank hook or something of those effects. It is an actual lockdown that could allow for their AD carry to do a lot more damage and actually dominate that lane phase.
Right.
And I think going back to what you were mentioning about the Rek'Sai on UNLV's side, focus, obviously, on the bot lane. We want the mobility. We want the roam from the Rek'Sai. You were mentioning if they fall behind, though, how they're going to maintain that. This team, if it does fall behind, can be collapsed on very, very easily. So we are going to see incredible focus on the bottom lane. Rek'Sai is going to be roaming down there nonstop. However, Boise State has such a great late team that UNLV needs to get that early lead. They need to get the bot lane pushed at least, if not in any other lane, because Boise State will be able to collapse on them very easily if they get the upper hand.
So we are in the spectator delay. We are on the live client. We are on patch 8.5, most current patch.
Yes.
For those of you that are watching at home, we do have a little bit of a delay, so we are getting the talks. But because this is a combo caster / analyst desk,
right.
I have the luxury of asking for your predictions. You've seen that you have had the luxury of seeing the draft phase. You see how the team compositions are working out. Adam, we'll start for you. 1 point, who you think is going to win and why?
I am personally leaning towards the UNLV side. That bottom lane is absolutely devastating. Braum with the unprecedented CC. Everything that he owns is going to stop something they have. Rek'Sai gets in, follows up the concussive blows. I like the team comp and the aggression that they are able to put out, so I will put my first vote pretty heavily in the hands of UNLV.
Jolly?
I am going to say Boise State. I think that they can push it out to the long game. Xayah is extremely powerful right now. She's very scary. So not only is UNLV going to have the focus for that bottom lane to push, but Boise State is going to have focus on that bottom lane to stop any potential snowball that Xayah might have. We have seen, as mentioned, Janna, Adopted Lemons is an incredible Janna, and Tristana is so powerful right now, early game and late game. If they can keep the pressure up early on, they won't be able to relent.
We've got a tight desk. For those of you that are just tuning in here live at the Thomas & Mack Center, as well as everyone watching at home, this is getting ready to start Game 1 of the Mountain West eSports Showdown. We are on day 1 of 3. Both today and tomorrow are going to be exhibition matches for Overwatch, League of Legends, as well as Rocket League. Coming into Saturday, which is going to be that best of 3 to declare our first ever eSports Showdown winner for the Mountain West Conference. You saw the trophy earlier, but we're just getting word the game is started, so I am going to be off the desk for a bit. I'm going to let Adam and Jolly take it away. Guys, let's get into Game 1 of the Mountain West eSports Showdown for League of Legends.
And welcome to round number 1 here on Summoner's Rift. Again, thank you so much, Jump. This is Adam Chizu McGuire, joined by Jolly Freak Lisa Malhas.
We already have a skin game starting, and Boise State's won that.
Oh, that's obviously the first sign that you are the best team NA is when you can simply out-RP your opponents. But as we get in, like we mentioned, a little bit of a delay here as we are spectators, not cool enough for the LAN client as of yet. One thing to note, as we did hear some comments, Kaisa being actually removed from this bout as she is brand new, came out yesterday. Was curious to see if we'd see that, but we are making a gentleman's agreement that nobody Kaisas today. And now we are waiting for the walls to drop, and these individuals will head into their individual lanes. You see the initial pings priority there in the mid lane. Is that something they're going to want to do? Or is it simply just saying, let's all play a little bit of an ARAM?
I'm very excited to see Lynx in this mid lane. Being a Boise State caster, we have seen Lynx before only in the ADC role. He and Red Hot swap off and on, but he is the highest ranked player on Boise State. Looks like blue side, UNLV is going to poke into the red jungle here. All 5 of them staying together. Rise probably letting his team know, hey, we've got some invasion.
The Goon Squad.
Yes, but the jungle, Boise State's jungle is not going to remove himself. Red Hots is coming out and doing a little taunting. Everyone is sticking to their lanes, though. It looks like we're not going to have any full invades starting this game.
And this gives information to the rest of Boise State University. They do know that they were looking for that aggressive start from UNLV. That is called tactical crouching, by the way. But that being said, Boise State now is going to start out on this blue buff here on the red side, and it looks like we will follow suit with Rek'Sai on the end of UNLV as well. The Pengu dabs, or the dab Pengu, whatever we're calling it these days, being shown. Very excited. You can tell the players are going to pause the game. That's what they're going to do. This is one of the interesting things about League of Legends as opposed to any other sports. They tell you can only take so many timeouts. Here, we'll actually be able to be given a handful of minutes. Overall, so right off the bat, Jolly, we didn't really see anything crazy as far as builds were concerned, but did see early aggression from UNLV. Is that going to be indicative of the rest of this match? Do you think that they're going to come together as that Goon Squad, try to make those crafty plays, or will it rely solely on open-ended jungle support?
I think based on the team comp and based on that early invade, I mean, less than a minute and a half into the game, all 5 members roaming into the jungle. That's a good sign that we're back into game. Good sign that they are going to have a lot of team focus and team pressure.
Absolutely.
It is a well, I was going to say team-based game. Team-based team. Lynx in the mid lane here. Seems like he's doing he's got a solid start. We have yet no crazy builds, as you mentioned. A relic shield on the Braum, which is standard. An ancient coin on the Janna. Again, a pretty basic pick. We got some blades, some machetes, and some rings on there, and a shield or two. So very, very basic. We're doing the easy, safe start.
And as far as top lane, psych, just kidding, more Ripperinos as we pause for another handful of seconds. Up in that top lane, we do have the Gnar into Cho'Gath, and we saw that Cho took the Doran shield, so he's going to have quite a bit more sustained, more defensive. He's a very late game champion anyways, kind of has to wait until he hits level 6 to get that consume, start to stack that, which is something they're going to have to be concerned about. Gnar going the standard Doran's Blade, so going the more aggressive route. We'll see how that ships and shapes the top laners, as we were mentioning, probably going to be a huge priority. Top lane typically more of the island, as I like to say. So the 2 laners will smack each other around for a handful of minutes until a jungler or a mid laner shows up to sway the tide of battle. But now we are back 2 minutes, 20 seconds in no real hard leads in any of the lanes, obviously. We are just a handful of minutes into this, but GetHawk doing a good job of just making sure his opponent isn't going to be too far in his space in his lane. It looks like he's going to lay some early vision there into the try, make sure none of the individuals from UNLV just show up in his lane and make it difficult. He's got to hit that Mega Gnar stack too.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up, actually.
Go ahead, you're a bit more of a Gnar champ than I.
Well, you were mentioning the Doran shield that we're seeing on Cho'Gath, and then the... Sorry?
Doran's Blade?
Oh, no. The Doran shield on Cho'Gath and the Doran's Blade on Gnar. Having the Blade early game is definitely a better choice, because without having Mega Gnar, you're not going to be jumping in, you're not going to be ulting into, attempting to capitalize on the kill necessarily, as much as just sustaining the lane. So very basic. But yeah, I do see GetHawk pushing this lane on Cho'Gath later in the game.
Right.
I mean, we haven't seen UNLV play yet, unfortunately, and so this is a great experience for us to watch players that we've grown to know and love against another team that isn't a varsity team.
Right. And we were talking about items and differences. Do notice a Doran shield on the bottom lane, though, which is a little interesting. Haven't seen that in quite some time. So Tristana not putting out as much damage, but again, going for that late game sustain that we were mentioning earlier. And it will take a little bit before this starts to sway, much like every game of League of Legends, the first handful of minutes used to gather these resources here. And so far, so good for every lane. You do see Gnar with a little bit of a lead. He does have a range advantage, but it looks like we're going to get our first piece of action. Soulpan jumping on in. Rocket Jump is good. Red Hots has a couple of stacks on him, but the damage will come out. It will not be enough. Feathers called on back, not finding a target to stun. A little bit of I would not use the term failed gank, but lackluster gank at best.
Well, there was a summoner spell that we got out of Xayah. No other summoner spells used on either team. So to have a Xayah with a flash down is phenomenal. Just getting that early game pressure on the bottom lane, which we know is the lane that is going that UNLV is working on pushing, is a great start for Boise State. Maintain the CS, make sure the lane isn't pushed in too far, and because Trist is going with a slightly more tanky, a slightly more defensive build here, you can tell that she's afraid of the damage that Xayah is able to deal right now. Early game to late game, it's ridiculous how much she does with just her autos.
And it looks like Soulpan going to back out, head on home, and buy some new shiny items for himself in the jungle. And we did see Rek'Sai kind of decide whether or not she wanted to go bot or top. Or sorry, mid lane, and it looks like she will opt for the mid lane. Red Hot's taking some free damage here, but Lynx now head-to-head with Sovis, and about a 5 CS lead, not huge, but starting to grow each and every second. This will be interesting, especially as Rek'Sai starts to move right back up, but Lynx is doing a pretty good job leaving himself back, but he's low on mana. He needs to be aware. A flash pop is going to happen. Rek'Sai trying to find the first individual target. Ignite does come out, and it looks like Lynx is going to fall. That is a first blood in the favor of UNLV, and just on the final tick, they call that calculated. But a great move there from not only Rek'Sai to flash engage, but a great follow-up there from Ahri to put out the necessary damage to make sure her team ends up in the lead. So Sovis with the first blood there with the Rek'Sai support.
And potential thinking behind that as well. We saw that the Cho'Gath was pinging out missing GetHawk in that top lane. So moving into the mid lane from UNLV was an amazing choice, whether or not they knew the Gnar was moving down to poke a little bit of damage on that Ahri. Having the charm as well makes it so that those mid mid lane ganks, they're kill ganks. They
Right.
are to ensure that the mid laner is gone for the next handful of waves, as opposed to, like we saw that bot lane gank as just kind of a way to put pressure onto the Xayah and the Braum down there.
Well, and it has allowed for Tristana and the Adopted Lemons to basically push their lane out. They are more than comfortable just keeping sure that they are ahead. And this is where they'll start to get a little bit more aggressive. Now, they do have the comfortability that Jarvan was there for a little bit, allowed them to push this wave. And whether or not they will continue this is more or less going to be up to these ADCs and their gold count, probably looking for those BF swords right off the bat, just like everybody else. Some Winter's Bite and concussive blows are going to land onto Tristana. Red Hots is doing just a fine job sitting quite ahead of his lane opponent. And getting, again, into the CF's differentials, you're starting to see a little bit of a difference in top jungle as well as the ADCs. But UNLV's keeping strong in the mid lane, the one kill giving that Ahri a little bit of an edge against this Ryze, who has just picked up his tier. Ahri opting for the new Lost Chapter.
Yeah, we did see Boise State before that gank on the bottom lane. Boise State was about half a K gold up, so not a huge difference, but just that one kill brought UNLV up to a gold lead over Boise State there. So tells us just how much that first blood and the early kill can get us. But Boise State is going in for the long haul, so they're going to focus CS. And we got a Tristana going back. Lane pushed a little bit, and Cho'Gath actually pushing that top lane so that Gnar has to defend his tower. Kind of the opposite of what I was thinking. I had expected Gedhawk to keep that lane pushed, but Cho'Gath is able to roam down, throw in a deep ward towards the tri-bush. Gedhawk going in to maybe ward that himself. He did ping that there is a ward in that bush, so at least we know probably not going to see a gank top lane in a
The
bit.
crowd just lost their mind for a ward kill. That's the kind of spirit that I like to see. That being said, we did see the ward go down, and it looks like Rek'Sai was trying to decide whether or not she wanted to counter jungle or make the adjustment into top. Now Jarvan is going to make an appearance. Sul'Pan is going to be seen out by not only the ward in the tri, but the ward here in the deep river as well. Immediately pinging back, get on out of here, be careful. So that is a heads up for Gedhawk, who honestly is not, I brought it up, he's not the most ridiculously aggressive player unless he has to be. We've seen multiple instances of him 2v1ing in what appears to be a lost fight, and then he will turn it just fine. So again, a couple caution pings to let him know that he is there and to be aware that the enemy jungler may be near. Enemy jungler is actually going to be in the mid lane as Lynx now is going to try to get out of here. Charm did not land, which is good news because Rek'Sai would have finished that with the pop, and that would have been it for Lynx, but instead just going to basically have the Rek'Sai's presence known here, and Ryze will continue to go back into the farm, now relenting that CS lead for the first time in this match.
Yes. And it seems like UNLV is counterplaying the concept that we were considering, focusing heavy on that bot lane. They know that Braum and Xayah can maintain it on their own. We haven't really seen Rek'Sai down to the bottom lane. She's putting pressure onto the mid lane there. We've got some pings coming out. Let's see.
Looks like there's a lot of individuals. So UNLV tried to catch the bottom lane in the river, but the resources from all four of those individuals will be in vain as Red Hots and Adopted Lemons are able to get out without any issue, not even taking any damage in the fight as well. So this could be a setup, though, however, for the Drake, which I do believe is Ocean, if I am seeing that correctly, that will be up. And this will be a first source of priority for both of these teams. The extra regen will be great, as well as the extra gold will definitely help. But it looks like a little bit of aggression here. Gedhawk going to get a little bit of poke onto Yul, and just kind of letting him know, hey, I can be aggressive if I want to, as bottom lane continues this kind of standoff here back and forth. Both teams playing very, very smart, no one getting too hyphy, everyone being well aware that their opponents are very strong. Both of these teams are very equal, and in jumps the rest of UNLV. Looks like they're going to jump on Adopted Lemons. That Monsoon is going to come out. It is not going to be enough as Adopted Lemons falls in the fray. Looks like Alza going to be able to get out just fine, leaving Red Hots all by his lonesome. It is another kill here for UNLV. Bottom lane picking up kill number 2.
What a phenomenal out by the Rek'Sai there. Red Hots thought he could get just enough damage down on her to take her out, but she had the follow-up, fantastic follow-up from Xayah and Braum there. So the concussive blow stack, as we were talking about before, hitting that Janna made it so that Boise State had no chance of getting out of there. Tristana had to play very safely. She did have the boots over the opposing Xayah. Flash out from GetHawk, flash out from Yule, and it looks like we've got the kill. Yule slaying GetHawk in the top lane, potentially able to push this lane back now.
And that was a great one-on-one fight there in the top lane. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see all of it, but both flashes expended and in the favor of UNLV. Wanted to also bring up with that fight in the bottom lane. Unlike the very beginning, all of Boise State's summoner spells have been blown, whether it's the exhaust or the flash or the heal from both of those individuals. It is unfortunately going to be a little bit of a rougher lane, up to the point in which Braum is going to roam up here. This is a 3-man gank in the mid lane. Concussive blows have landed, and it looks like Sulpan going to be able to jump in and try to stray this action for just a little bit. But it's to the point now where UNLV is so comfortable that they can send their support up into the mid lane and help what was a very crafty 3-point gank there in the mid lane. And it looks like Sulpan now wants to make his presence known. Whether or not he will find his intended target is a matter of seconds. Instead, going to peel out and look for the scuttle, or actually just head back into his jungle. But Boise State needs to find a ground to stand on, even if it is just a little bit, as right now they are down in the 12-minute mark. Not so much in the gold, but 3-0 the kill score. And Azla is now back in this bottom lane, seen out by a River Ward, will cause the rest of Boise State University to back off.
Braum's gonna go take care of that ward. Oh, no, we are moving to the Ocean Drake. So Braum and Rek'Sai are going to take that while Xayah stays in the bottom lane, keeping pressure on Tristana and Janna so that they do not recognize that there's been a move on this dragon. We've got Ahri moving down, Sovis dealing some damage as well. And Ryze is backing in the mid lane, so we're going to see if they can maybe push that mid lane in response.
That's a free Ocean Drake over on the side of UNLV. Not even warded to the point in which Boise State could respond. We do see some heavy vision, but not in the areas that they needed. We'll even get an emote to really drive home the point. GetHawk now trying to make something happen here in the top lane. He is a little bit behind, but look at that CS lead, man. He is absolutely okay with the differential there. Maybe not so much the death, but he is definitely feeling his lane, picking up the Phage and the Kindle Gem as well. So top lane, while being behind 1 kill, is still feeling super comfortable with what they have. You see both junglers taking relatively the same items, only the only difference, Sulpan picking up some extra vision. And that's the thing that we do see on Boise State's side. Oh my wards. There are so many control wards in their possession. They just need to use them. Like I mentioned, the Ocean Drake was pretty free. They need to make sure they're okay. And Red Hot's being forced to actually jump out here now from the aggression because he doesn't have his flash to make that possible.
We've seen a lot of consistent movement down in that bot lane, pushing Tristana and Janna back so that they can't actually, they were preventing the vision on the river and onto that Drake here. We've got some pings coming out around Dragon. Now that they know they don't have that, they have to play a bit more safely. Xayah doing some damage onto Red Hot's Unbreakable coming out to prevent Howling Gale from hitting that Xayah. Red Hot's having to use some pots, some red pots. We have GetHawk warding up defensively in his lane. We see some more wards. We still have plenty of wards, though, on UNLV's side. There is a bunch of vision, and we can see Boise State having to throw down their control wards in their own jungle, having to defensively ward, as opposed to potentially being able to offensively ward and make some more outgoing plays, roaming plays, potentially.
Well, it's because that Rek'Sai will jump into that tri-bush, and it is fairly apparent that UNLV has no problem with offset ganks, weird engages. Again, I'm still wrapping my head around that 3-point sway that happened with Braum coming into the mid lane. Just very well coordinated, and this is what we were talking about, a club group that while no real backing, it means they have the passion and the know-how. There's a reason you play with the people that you do, and so very glad to see that it is already coming to a positive light for UNLV as they are 3-0 up here at about 15 minutes.
Yes, we have a full item here on Ryze in the mid lane. He is maintaining his CS even though he's been collapsed on a few times. So Rod of Age is already 2 stacks down on there and a tier to follow that up. No full build item. Oh, we just got a Luden's Echo there on Ahri, actually. So we've got our first full items coming out. We've got the Essence Reaver here on Xayah, the BF Sword, so potentially going into the IE4 Tristana here on the other side. So it'll be interesting to see how they plan on building both offensively and defensively, as we stated that Boise State can lose their footing if they fall behind.
Well, and you were mentioning finished items. GetHawk does have quite a few solid items. He's, again, Phage and Kindle Gem, but we do have the Righteous Glory coming out from Cho'Gath. So you want to talk about a rock and island, somebody who's not going anywhere anytime soon, unless he wants to when he burns the activatable on that Righteous Glory. He's going to be quite a force to be reckoned with, especially once he starts getting these consume stacks and starts growing larger and larger.
Moving in the top lane there, it looks like we have both junglers peeking. Sulpan is potentially faking a back, or he's actually backing. We've got the ping on him, so they do know that Sulpan is in that bush, trying to get some damage down on Azla here in the river, but she is going to back. GetHawk moving back into his lane.
This could be a bait, too. Boise State needs to be very, very careful because they don't have vision on this bush. So what appears to have possibly been a back, Sulpan now being seen out, he's going to get popped, and that's the rest of the damage coming in. Sulpan just gets absolutely eviscerated, and now GetHawk is on his own with YUL and Tote. It looks like more action here down in the bottom lane. Adopted Lemons has to get out. The ultimate from Xayah did come out. Red Hot's very, very low as Xayah just absolutely opens up on this bottom lane. Another great coordinated kill and a very crafty play there on UNLV's side. I brought up this might be a bait, and I was not wrong. When Jarvan does get caught out in that tri-bush,
yes.
It wasn't able to get out. That's the pop that I was talking about, whether it's Cho'Gath, Braum, the Rek'Sai, even Xayah has some form of hard stun and CC that Boise State needs to get around. Don't be surprised if Tristana has to pick up a Scimitar early. Nice Monsoon there, and Sylvis going to continue the fray and is going to jump in. Foxfire picks up another one. Sylvis is in. Teleport, he's coming in from the bot lane. Both top laners now jumping in. Will this continue through? No, it does look like GetHawk is going to pull away. His cooldown is going to
teleports,
yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So it does look like both top laners not fully committed to this bottom lane, but it would have been a knockdown, drag 'em out of the ages had they both gone through. So again, UNLV absolutely okay with the aggression, okay with sending 4 guys into the bottom lane, because every gank that they have had has worked out in some way.
Yes.
Even if it takes an extra 2 minutes, the patience on the side of UNLV is something to take note of, because... Go ahead.
And we got we were talking, we've got Sulpan jumping in on Azla. We've got the pop-up and the charm onto Lynx. He flashes out of the Cataclysm. Azla still dealing damage and getting the kill there on Lynx, doing as much as he can to Sulpan, but Sulpan is going to make it out alive.
I'm not sure exactly what was going on there as far as Sulpan is concerned. He seems to be getting caught while backing, and I don't think it's a matter of vision, unfortunately. Again, that Rek'Sai was able to not only jump out of the Cataclysm, so it wasted all there, but so was Ahri. And that's one thing they do need to realize with this Jarvan Cataclysm is it's very easy for this UNLV team to just get out of it. Again, the Cataclysm not being the highest damage, but second tower being dropped. That's going to be 2 for UNLV, completely unanswered. Not even pressure on the towers from the side of Boise State.
Such a presence from UNLV's team right now. Every single lane they have had push, and if it's been pushed against them, they immediately jump back onto it. We've got Rift Herald going down quite quickly, which will be incredible for UNLV to push more lanes. GetHawk poking some damage, and they do have a red ward, so they know what's going on, but it does not appear that they are going to be able to do anything about it. UNLV picking up that Rift Herald.
Well, the rest of Boise State is here as well, trying to find an opening to start this fight. It is a 5-on-5 here in the river. Relatively free Rift Herald there for the side of UNLV, so they'll be able to use that. Sulpan Flag and Drag is going to instantly be charmed, and his health is going with it. Sulpan now with about 200 health. It's going to be a flash and a pop there. Azla is on fire, picking up yet another one, and Sulpan is having a rough game. A great Glacial Fissure is going to find that rise, and Mahad going to pick up Lynx in the process. That is 2 for 0 on a game that Boise State wanted to start. They had 5 individuals there. Sulpan Flag and Drags right into the face of Ahri, and Ahri says, great, you want to hang out?
Yeah,
and they do just that.
No real response from Boise State on that. They didn't think that they could turn and engage. They were doing a good amount of damage, but the slow response made it so that UNLV was able to pop off the damage they needed to. And we talked earlier about the snowball potential of this team.
Absolutely.
And if they can make the early game happen, they will be unstoppable. We've got 8-0 right now, 2 Drakes down for UNLV. We have 15 seconds until Baron is up now. 2 towers down by UNLV. Nothing on the side of Boise State. We don't have a single number. We have 0 towers, 0 kills, 0 Drakes. And even the Rift Herald was picked up by UNLV. Now a potential for an early Baron, even because of the damage that they are dealing is exceeding over Boise State so much. Aslo's presence has been incredible in every single lane we've seen him show up.
And that's the other thing too, is I was going to bring up that individual as well. Already has the beating part of Sterix and a Tiamat, so I'm assuming going to go Hydra with that. At least that's my opinion. Seeing the Locket is in the top lane as well, so that will give yet another shield to try to drive through on the side of UNLV. And right now they're running away with it. You see that the Essence Reaver, yes, is finished for that Xayah. You have the Infinity Edge on the end of this Tristana, but it's very, very, very scary for Boise State right now because this Xayah will just continue to grow, continue to get stronger. Oh, and oh, by the way, that's not the main source of damage. The very aggressive Rek'Sai, the flash pops have been unbelievable, not to mention the response to each and every CC effect has been par none for UNLV. And it looks like Shelly's going to come out in the top lane. The Rift Herald going to take a massive chunk out of this top lane, if not dropping it in its entirety.
They want that third first tower.
And that is all 3 outers done here for Boise State University. They are now on their heels. 4 in the top lane. They've got to bring this Rift Herald down, or they're just going to continue to lose another 50%, a little less than. Damage is coming out, but there's still about 1,000. Finally, the Rift Herald is brought down, and tower number 2 is in limbo as it is sitting at not favorable health. A great callback on those feathers is actually going to stun Gedhawk underneath the tower, and this is the crazy part. 2 Ocean Drakes for UNLV. They can siege all day now. All they have to do is show up in a lane, continue to push, and don't be surprised if you see the Banner of Command coming soon.
And we've seen that. We just saw 3 champions pushing that top lane, 2 going down and around to try to catch Lynx out, who was able to jump out of the charm. But that's a lot of potential for an instantly dead ADC. They're making their way now towards the Baron. It would be a fantastic push now. That's all they need, really, especially with a Banner of Command on top of it to push towards that second tier tower.
Well, in 8.5, they did get rid of the stacking Banner of Command and Baron buff, thank God, because nobody likes to see a Nexus 3-shotted. But as we continue, it's a good point, is that, you know, they're able to scale out towards that late game and capitalize on it.
Well, and I was thinking more of a Banner in one lane with the Baron. You know, Banner being put down in the bottom lane, for instance, and then pushing the mid lane forces BSU to traverse every single lane, as opposed to grouping up as a 5-man team, which they really need to do right now to prevent UNLV from getting any more kills, from catching anyone out the way they have been. Because Boise State has shown that they do have damage potential. They're behind 5.5K about in gold right now, so not a huge difference based on the kills, the dragons, the Rift Herald there. However, if one does get caught out, it's detrimental to them.
Oh, absolutely, and we've noticed each and every time that Asla has shown up into a lane, it has netted at least 1 kill, if not more. And that gold lead is huge right now, only 23 minutes in. For the side of UNLV, multiple completed items. We're seeing the 2nd and the 3rd finish, so Ninja's Tabby as well as the Static Shiv for Xayah, who hits a pretty gnarly 3-item spike, much like Tristana does, and she is hitting that right now, so she will absolutely delete anybody who stands in her way. Another needlessly, oh, there it is. The Rabadon's Death Cap picked up now for Ari is going to spell even more raw damage on the side of UNLV. And Boise State, again, is trying to maintain. They do have the CS lead and are even in certain instances. You just notice the ADC as well as the top laner from Boise State University are ahead in the CS and the creep score, but definitely down in the kills. I guess Tristana we can't pick on too much as she has not died yet. But Gedhawk definitely still looking to make use of his massive lead over 60 CS, or a little less than 60 in his favor, but that does not offset the 2-0 and 2 Cho'Gath, the 3-0 and 3 Rek'Sai, or even the mid laner at 2-0 and 3. So right now, UNLV is sitting pretty. This is their game to lose if they so choose. And now the aggression is being decided whether it's going to be in the enemy's jungle or if we are going to set up for this Baron. It looks like we're getting at least the vision now.
Yeah, vision on Baron for sure, and they are going to start engaging on that. If they are capable of taking this without not being dealt too much damage.
And now it looks like the scuffle is going to happen here. Vision being cleared out. It was just a bait from the look of it. Boise State University was looking to make something happen. The prison is going to find YUL. Lynx going to peel back out. Boise State trying to make something happen here. Soulpan is just making sure he doesn't get caught out again, which is something that has unfortunately happened just a couple of times, but a couple of very important times. A great pop there is going to find Tristana. Red Hots is going to be forced to get out, but a great glacial fissure is going to come out, and the damage from UNLV is massive. Asla picking up one, is trying to get out, is going to manage. The rocket jump from Red Hots is going to be the only kill right now for Boise State University, and now the rest of Boise State is going to have to peel out. They did pick up 2 for 2, but it's like putting band-aids over something that needs stitches and or a surgeon. They will continue to try to keep them off of this middle tower number 2, but it's, again, the damage on this UNLV side is massive, and that was just so much happening in one area. It was kind of hard to tell. We saw the Cataclysm come out, but the rest of the damage from UNLV was able to pretty much eviscerate Sulpan and Lynx as well. So
UNLV now making their way down to get that third dragon. Taking out the scuttle, picking up some blobs, and we've got damage going down now. Gonna be the third dragon for them, and that means that any lane that they intend to push is going to be collapsed on instantly. The roam potential from this team has shown its mark. It has shown that Boise State, with no damage and unable to group up, it ensures that there's nothing that they can do in response. They have to stay in one lane, meaning every objective is getting capitalized on by UNLV.
And they finally find one there in the mid lane, if not all because of the Red Hots finding the mid lane tower. But that is a third Ocean Drake now in favor of UNLV, meaning they can just stay in a lane and suddenly they're healthy again. If Cho'Gath wasn't annoying before, he's going to be even more of a detriment to Boise State University now at this point. On top of the tanky Braum, on top of, it's finished Titanic Hydra now for this Rek'Sai. So they are unbelievably tanky and will be willing to pick up these fights. They will find these picks and have no problem taking a severe amount of damage and getting out, as well as recouping after the fact.
Well, and you were mentioning too the abilities on Cho'Gath there, the pop-up into the silence. That's another ensure that Boise State is unable to do anything. If one of them gets caught out, the team either has to push, turn around, and collapse on whoever's doing the damage, but if all of UNLV is there's nothing they can do, meaning they have to sacrifice whoever's been jumping out, and we haven't seen enough of that. We've seen them trying to collapse, trying to jump in on UNLV, but there's too much damage coming from them, and they're going to re-engage here on this Baron.
Using the blast cone to make sure that they can get into the pit. Asla is starting it off. The rest of Boise State University is coming in, trying to make something happen here. Teleport coming in from Gedhawk is going to spell a full commitment here from Boise State University. It looks like UNLV going to pull off. A Glacial Fissure comes out, does not find any of the intended targets. Flag and Drag is going to find Ari. Cataclysm comes out, but you can't dive if you have no health or armor, so Sulpan is going to fall. But the re-engage is huge. Lynx is going to pick up one. It looks like Red Hot's going to pick up the shutdown on Saya, and now we continue on. Another Koopa jump is going to find the Braum. That is a double kill there for Lynx, and Boise State, making us eat our words, down so much, is able to turn it around in just one team fight, and they're now eyeballing this Baron.
Well, I mentioned they were doing a great amount of damage, even though they were getting caught out and they were getting picked off. By taking out those, they focused the Cho'Gath first. Oh, we've got a re-engage possibly by Sovis here on Ari. So much damage coming out from this rise. Gedhawk and Red Hot's able to take it out.
Gedhawk, no!
Gedhawk does go down to the Baron. They do still pick up Baron Nashor, however.
Best
so we've
Baron
at least
NA.
got it on 3 of the players for Boise State.
Yeah,
with Adopted Lemons being down,
as well.
doesn't get to pick up that buff, but we do have the Baron minions.
And a bigger piece at that is that UNLV doesn't have it now, which is almost the biggest point, because that would have been disastrous after such an amazing play, especially. Yeah, the death is a little janky. It's a little weird. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But the fact that now Boise State has signs of life, which is what they've been looking for all game, literally tied as far as gold is concerned. Kills, however, tell a little bit of a different story, but this is where Boise State will be able to come back. We mentioned earlier, they need to make sure they don't fall too far behind in the early game, which they did, but not too bad.
Right. Well, we had also mentioned the gold differential and how even though there were 8 more kills than Boise State had, there were 2 Drakes at the time. They were able to maintain the CS, so it wasn't a huge differential, which you were mentioning with the CS, which is great. We've seen Boise State CS over CS every single opponent.
Absolutely.
So seeing Tristana do the damage that she did, almost at 300 CS now. Same with Rise, just an incredible amount of damage on them now with the items that they have built. Definitely took UNLV off guard. They were waiting for that engage on Baron. They did a great job of poking down the Cho'Gath so he wasn't able to prevent much damage from Boise State. and it was a fantastic collapse. They know they have to stay as a team, but they have to continue doing that and engaging as a team to stay alive.
Well, and again, I brought up the fact that Sulpan jumped in, flag and drag, did the Cataclysm, and was just instantly turned on by the 5 other members of UNLV.
Yes.
And instantly disappeared, but they didn't expect Rise to hit like the freight train that he is. You saw him go toe-to-toe with Ari before the buff actually was finished, and was able to pretty much 3-shot her, 4-shot her at that point. All it's going to take is 1 Runic Prison, and she is in a lot of trouble. Same counterpoint, obviously. If the Charm hits, that could be interesting. But it's great that Boise State did not fall far enough behind that now they actually have a gold lead, and it's all based on the CS despite falling so far behind. 3 Dragons weren't even there. They even let a Rift Herald go by. Not necessarily their fault, but now you have the redemption. You have the Ardent Sensor coming out from the bottom lane, which means whenever Jaina does anything to any of her allies, they're going to be so much stronger. The attack speed, the overall damage output just absolutely explodes. And that will be a big point for Boise State University. If they can continue this push, can continue to use it, there is another tower. Finally equalizing on those 3 aside. Boise State looking a lot better than they did in the early minutes of the game. So we will see how they exploit this. Still having the Baron buff is also a nice addition to this overall story.
And that was one single engage where Boise State regained their footing. It was a great engage on their part, again, waiting for the Baron there, but every single engage we saw prior went in the favor of UNLV heavily. There was no, it was a deciding factor that they had won the fight. So Boise State not losing their heads, not assuming that they're going to be outdamaged. Ari is jumping in on Adopted Lemons. We get the flash out by Adopted Lemons. Yule is trying to follow it up, but we have Howling Gale jump in. Sona,
No, it looks like Sulpan is going to fall in the fray after Cataclysm drops, and it looks like Link's going to be caught out as well. A real weird engage there. I don't know why he was by himself. Asla picking up yet another one, and Adopted Lemons took a lot of damage in that, had the Flash Monsoon to save himself, and is now sitting at less than 300 health, trying to decide where exactly he's going to help the rest of his team. Rek'Sai jumping in hard, Red Hot's able to jump out pretty easy. That is an unfortunate situation and something that we have been seeing. Right now, Sulpan 0-4-6 has been having a really hard time engaging and doing as he wishes. But whether or not that will be the deciding factor, we will find out. Right now, another tower in that mid lane falling there. So hopefully Boise State, again, they just lost their Baron buff, so they are not as strong as they used to be, but still in good spirits as far as the emo.
well, and we've seen just how much CS can do. Boise State has a huge lead over CS. The fact that it is, they're 8 kills, or UNLV is 8 kills up. They're now engaging on this Dragon, so they're going to get a 4th one, Mountain Drake at that. So that's great pull from them. Boise State forced to just push back their lanes, keep their jungle unwarded if they can, but there is some great vision that UNLV is putting down, so they at least know where the players are. But I mentioned just a little bit ago that Boise State needs to stay together as a team. That damage can come out, but as soon as Red Hots or Lynx are put down with some CC, they're gone. And as soon as that happens, Boise State is out of the game. So having Sulpan jump in the way he did, everyone turned on him, and Red Hots was able to sit back and poke away. They need to keep engaging like that. They cannot be picked off one by one. They have to be playing safely, even though they can outdamage, and they are they have a gold lead. It's just so minor that they still have to play safe.
Well, that Rek'Sai is going to become even more of an issue. Picking up the Guardian Angel, now she will be able to spawn, well, revive herself after dying. And she's already been in the fray more than any other champion in this game. And you're absolutely correct. Boise State does need to come together as a full unit. We saw what happened when they did on that Baron. And then almost immediately at the tail end of that Baron buff, getting caught out. Again, Adopted Lemons was trying to zone out so this Tristana could pick up that mid tower, goes face to face with an Ari, leads to a flash, a blown ultimate, and then all chaos broke loose, essentially.
And Sulpan keeps trailing at the end, unfortunately, so he's been getting caught out quite a bit. We have 0-4-6 as his KDA at the moment. He does have the Hydra there, he does have a Cinderhulk, but we don't have any other completed items on him aside from his boots, which is not going to get him super far, not as far as he wants at least. We get the blue turret destroyed, so that is a good push by Boise State that puts them up on the tower lead. So 5-2-4, we have about a 3K lead, 2.5 2.5K lead in Boise State's favor at the moment. So if they can maintain this, we were talking about longer games, and we're looking at 34 minutes already, and not anywhere close to the end unless we get some massive aces and some major pushes.
Well, the ebbs and flows of this game have been all over the place, and I do believe if we see an ace, this probably will be the end of the game. Depending on how these players wish to push it, we are seeing that Zaya now is starting to finish up. But Mother of CS, that Tristana right now, eyeing 360 CS, is feeling pretty good too, already picking up some armor shred as well as the rapid fire cannon and static shift. Picking up that QSS like we were talking about, Quicksilver Stash, will help with, oh, I don't know, one of the any 20 kinds of CS, but it looks like this is going to be a full bait. Red Hots is going to be found, is going to burn QSS, cleanses it out. Monsoon is going to be used as a precautionary measure, making sure Red Hots is going to be able to get out and the rest of Boise State can readjust for this engage. But UNLV has the patience that I wish every team had. They will sit in a bush for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and just wait for their opponent to misstep. And all it's going to take is one, like we were mentioning earlier, Jolly. One individual from this Boise State team falls, and the rest of UNLV will be able to finish it up. Whether it's Solpan or the very far ahead Tristana, it's not going to matter. So Boise State does need to be aware of this counter aggression and aware that this UNLV team is very, very sneaky, for lack of a better term.
And we have a Baron up, so we're poking around in that jungle. We're going to actually push in mid lane, UNLV doing some solid wave clear and then moving back towards the Baron, either to ward, to remove wards, or potentially make a drop on it. And you had mentioned as well the tankiness of UNLV, and that has been huge for them, absolutely monumental, because the Tristana would have been able to burn them down far more than she has been able to output damage at the moment. And it's because they have all of these tanks able to jump in, soak up damage, kind of confuse Boise State when it comes to target focus, because they do have so many they have plenty of high focus priorities. So Boise State's going to try to push back that middle lane, and they do know that 3 members of UNLV are up towards Baron in the river. We've got Rise back behind it, throwing down some vision, and UNLV is going to collapse on the clear here, potentially engage, or at least bait out Boise State to come down. Yeah, Link's on the wave clear, absolutely absurd there. He is going to get jumped on. The Winter's Bite makes its mark. Azla, he does jump, or flash out. Azla's flashing out as well. We've got a TP coming in. The root down on Azla, and a great unbreakable from Braum there. Solpan jumping in, getting charred by Sovis, and we have a Glacial Fissure coming out to keep back the other members of Boise State. Ultimate coming from Zaya. She's doing so much damage. Red Hots is able to pick up the kill. And Yule taking out Adopted Lemons there. So Red Hots did get the double kill, did pick up the Braum. We've got the Resurrect here coming out, and a triple kill there for Tristana.
And that is a great move. 6-0-3 Red Hots now, showing that he is a force to be reckoned with. A 3-for-1 exchange. Solpan jumping in is going to get absolutely just deleted. Red Hots now trying to put on damage. Gedhawk is here in the wings to make things happen. The Koopa jump will land. The Buster shot will hit. And the rest of the damage is going to be shut down by this Sylvis. And it looks like the Rai is going to have to clean it up. I really thought Red Hots had it. I got really excited. But instead, a Ari Charm and Ball to follow is going to net her down. So another great move there from Boise State University is getting the ace. Solpan once again jumping in, getting the attention of the team, getting absolutely deleted, and the rest of his teammates able to pick it up. So at this point, he's playing Cannonball Jarvan, 05 and 11, but does have the tanky stats to now start backing up.
And I'm expecting potentially a move onto this Baron. We've got Adopted Lemons moving down to clear out some vision. No, Rise is going to back. They didn't have quite enough life, quite enough damage there to actually engage, which would have been the best outcome of that ace. Once you get an ace, especially this late in the game, if you can pick up any objective, we've got Dragon coming up now in 20 seconds. That is the main priority, but they were able to push back the lanes, at least do the damage they needed to. Now Adopted Lemons and Gedhawk in the mid lane, going to try to push to that first tower. We've got some pings coming out near Baron. Potentially more vision going up, and Solpan looks like he does want to make his move onto the Baron. Nope. We've got several wards coming out. We're going to take out the Scuttle so that we get the additional vision there. And again, baiting has been the huge deal with Baron.
This could be a very dangerous vision clear here. I thought maybe this might be a collapse here for UNLV. They need to make sure that they are on Boise State the second they start this Baron, whether it's trying to push them out, because Boise doesn't really want to commit to this thing yet. You can tell that they're waiting for UNLV to make a move so they can respond. A Charm is going to land. Gedhawk going to take a large amount of damage there, all for free while standing in lane.
But Red Hot's doing so much damage to the Braum there, who's incredibly incredibly tanky. Just with a few of those autos, we can see how much that CS lead, now at 403 CS on the Tristana, so a massive lead that Boise State has over UNLV. Boise State is going to attempt to collapse on this Elder Dragon, so make sure that UNLV does not get the 5th trait and the best one of all. We now have stacking Elder Dragons as well and a shorter cooldown. So Jana gets the pickup on that. We're going to get the
support
root down
smite,
onto the choke
and
at
a
the
jump in
flash
from
in by
Gedhawk. And Red Hots is going to find one. A Soul Pan Cataclysm will find the ADC. She is gone. That is another kill there for Boise State. The ultimate from Rise will bring the rest of the team into that bush, and it looks like Link's going to find the opposing. Ari is not going to stop, I think, because we are now focused on Gedhawk. Although Link's going to pick up Asla now.
Great route.
Did see that was going to start at least and unfold. So again, a great move there from the Rise to continue on. And now we push into the inner towers. We're looking at inhibitor tower number 1. Could this be inhibitor number 1? It is. Boise State University continuing on, looking to close this game out already at 39 minutes 40 now at this point. It looks like Nexus Tower number 1, a Flag and Drag is going to find Braum. Even with the charm from Ari, Nexus Tower number 2 is gone. Is this game number 1 for Boise State, the comeback of the day? It does appear so. Game 1, Boise State.
What a fantastic game from both teams there.
It was unbelievable to see Boise State take everything I said about falling behind in the early game and making me eat every ounce of crow. It's unbelievable to see just how well that all went. And
got a replay here in a Baron fight.
This is that Baron fight that led to the turning tides for Boise State. You see a missed Glacial Fissure there, you see a great kite there, and then that's the jump from what we were talking about from Jarvan. He does disappear, but the rest of Boise State is able to collapse on the Cataclysm. 3 individuals were there. Link's going to be picking up that. Tristana then just Koopa stomps all the way down to blue buff, and is just going to let Ari get out of there. They were able to get 4 of the 5, and they were rewarded with a Baron.
It's not a single member of UNLV really turned on Red Hots there, who was dealing the most damage that I have seen in a very, very long time on him. So the fact that they were letting this ADC just sit back, kite where he needed to, it ensured that Boise State had the upper hand in that fight after they got rid of the tank.
And again, Boise State made an absolute statement. Yes, you can get ahead, and 8 kills at that. 5,000 gold at one point in time, just a handful of minutes in, so I'm very excited for this game number 2 and very stoked to see what we have in the near future. It looks like we're going to take a quick minute with an interview from the Mountain West Conference's Carolyn Henry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Jump Carter, and I'm joined here with Caroline Henry, the Senior Associate Commissioner for the Mountain West. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We are here at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Thomas and Mack Center for a multitude of things. You've got the NCAA Men's and Women's Championship for the Mountain West Conference the entirety of this week, as well as the Mountain West eSports Showdown. Now, this came across your desk, a little while ago, and we've talked a little bit beforehand. Esports wasn't something you were super knowledgeable about. What has the experience been like since picking up this project?
So the experience has been great, and as you mentioned, it got kind of put on my desk. We were at a meeting in December. Our board of directors said, you know what, we want to try an exhibition. We think this will be great. Our students really love it and participate in it. Why don't we try to blend the two?
Now, blending the two has been fantastic. We're literally a basketball pass away from the court itself. What has it been like wedding the 2 events together, the championship as well as the showdown that's happening this weekend?
It's been fairly easy. We already have a championship format set up, and so we used a lot of the things that we do in our championship for men's and women's basketball for our eSport competition. Having the location where it is made it a lot easier. We have a lot of our basketball fans coming in, asking questions, and we're trying to educate them on what we're doing here and why this is so exciting.
The excitement of bringing esports to any sort of LAN event, anytime you can bring it to a physical location, especially at something as prestigious as this, has always been fantastic throughout the history of esports. What do you think has been the biggest surprise throughout, whether it be organizing this event or seeing the reactions from the fans that are coming in, or just the event as a whole?
I don't know if it was as much of a surprise as it was somewhat challenging just trying to navigate this landscape. It's a lot different than intercollegiate athletics, but at the end of the day, it is an event. And so at the end of the day, we actually ended up being about at the same place we are with basketball.
Now, you did say you took a trip over to the Fiesta Bowl and checked out the TESPA Collegiate Series Overwatch Finals. Figuring out and learning more about esports the way that you have, what has been one of the more enjoyable experiences, or just something that you've learned to appreciate in seeing the new gaming side of things?
So one of the things that's, I don't know, it's fascinating to me and it's really fun is the fan involvement. Whether they're watching from afar, whether they're in arena and venue, it's just the excitement that the fans exhibited. That was amazing. It was an amazing atmosphere at the Overwatch Championships.
Now, this weekend, we've got Boise State and UNLV playing against each other over
Yes.
the next 3 days for this event. School involvement with Mountain West is extremely important. Obviously, when you have that participation, when you have, all of your teams on board, what has it been like working with Boise State and UNLV to get this set up?
It's been great. Boise State and UNLV, they've educated me on esports and helped me along the way. But I think they've also educated our administrators, our board of directors. This is the future, and we really are excited about it.
Well, thank you so much, Caroline, for coming and hanging out with us. That's going to do it here. Don't forget to check out the Mountain West Conference as well as the Mountain West Esports Showdown while you're here at UNLV. Thanks. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the Mountain West Esports Showdown. You can see Boise State is pretty excited after that Game 1 victory. My name is Jump. I'm here with Jolly as well as Adam. Guys, that was quite the tremendous Game 1.
That's one of those games you dream of in any kind of solo queue or team format in which, like, well, we could just forfeit at 20. Oh, wait a minute, we got it. And it was just this unbelievable comeback from Boise State University.
Yeah, they knew they had the upper hand when it came to damage, so it was spectacular to see them collapse correctly and not let UNLV, even though it seemed they had the upper hand earlier in the game, not let them take advantage of Boise State in their laning.
Adam, I'll go with you first. Biggest takeaway from Game 1. Obviously, it was very back and forth. This kill score did not necessarily, reflect what was happening with the way that Boise State was able to come back. Biggest takeaway for you, Game 1.
It does not matter how far these guys are behind, and I now have to change my original statement because that was a monstrous lead at 15 minutes, 8,000 gold, like 10 kills, and they still managed to pull it back. So as far as the big things is that Boise State is willing to continually push the envelope until they get what they want. That may be a reason that they lose sometimes, but right now, they're willing to jump in and make sure that they get something as opposed to just letting things happen.
Well, we're getting Game 2 set up. We're going to be into that shortly. So let's think about Game 2. Let's look ahead. Game 1, it's in the books. We're going to close the chapter on that. We're going to open Game 2. Jolly, biggest step that UNLV needs to take to even that score and finish the day at 1-1?
Well, so we saw a big CS differential between Boise State and UNLV in the first, meaning going into the second, maybe they need to focus on getting champions that they are more comfortable with wave clearing. We saw the wave clear at the end of the game by Boise State was absurd. One or two autos and the entire wave was cleared because of the items that they were building. They did seem to like their comp very much that they had. So UNLV sticking with a safe comp worked for them early game, but they really need to know when they're ahead, when they should collapse, because I think that they were actually more ahead than they thought they were at the time. So being very confident in what they go with is a way for them to come back.
Well, we're getting ourselves into the pick ban phase for game number 2. We had the coin flip at the beginning to decide what sides were going to be for each of these. UNLV won game 1. They decided to go blue side. Boise won game 1 as well as the game 2 coin flip. They chose blue side for their half, so we're going to have a side swap for what, and already we're seeing that Warwick band again away from UNLV.
And pretty standard bans. We did see kind of cookie-cutter bans last time. Looks like we're going to see even more of the same as Galio now will not see the fields of justice, and that Warwick band that we were talking about is monumental. We were seeing the presence that Asla has in that jungle role. It was absolutely relentless. No pun there intended, but was able to just stay on every target. Warwick can kind of do that, but worse, whether it's the ultimate to lock you down or the fear after the fact. Another champion that just Boise State does not want to deal with. Brand, a very heavy control mage right now, whether he's running a janky support build or he's running the powerhouse AP mid build. He's just a nuisance to deal with, much like this Caitlyn we're also now seeing removed here as ban number 2 for UNLV. So again, no focus fire as far as the bans are concerned. Each role still just losing a top tier item of the puzzle. Whether or not they will continue to focus fire the lanes, we'll see, but that was what we saw in game 1.
Well, and we didn't necessarily see an MVP from either team. Everyone played extremely well. We had great lane presence early game from UNLV. They pushed every single lane, but Boise State, again, every lane was able to converge together and respond to it. Zaya being banned out by UNLV, which is another great pick, obviously, and Tarek being banned by Boise State. They do not like the CC that UNLV was throwing down last game.
The Fabio-esque individual is nothing but outrageous when it comes to CC and lane composition. It's very, very difficult to get around him. It's very, very hard to put damage on an opposing ADC when he's going to stun you in the face, even if you are on the individual he is teamed with. But looks like we were feeling okay with Sulpan on Jarvan despite the KDA. That'll be a first pick for Boise State University. A very interesting selection there.
Well, we know that Sulpan is very comfortable on Jarvan, and we also saw that the team was okay with not letting him get caught at the tail end, but when he did, it ensured that he was the only one that was picked off. The important champions, Tristana, as we're seeing being picked up now by UNLV, Tristana and Rise were able to stay back, and if anyone was caught out, they made their way out when they knew they couldn't win the fight. So Jarvan is a good pick in jumping in, getting the Cataclysm down, maybe forcing out a flash or some sort of exit by UNLV. So it's not super surprising seeing Sulpan pick him, even though he's not necessarily the best choice. A Janna to follow up the Tristana in that bottom lane will be a fantastic matchup, so we're going to have to see what Boise State is going to do to counter that.
And you take a look at what you have in the pick ban phase differences, obviously, between game 1 and 2. Something that has remained consistent for UNLV is the prioritization of their bot lane. They understand 100% that their win condition revolves around Mahad and Brett Barker-Lever having some success in their lane. And so already locking themselves with that 1-2 pick with the Tristana Janna is great, but look at what we're seeing change out of Red Hot. It's going to be that Varus pick.
And Varus is a great response to this setup as of right now. He will have an opportunity to lock down. We were talking about the Janna's ability to disengage. Varus can make sure nobody goes anywhere, whether it's the ult or the follow-up hail of arrows. And a Lulu pick to follow would be beautiful as well on the side of Boise State University. If UNLV is saying, hey, we liked your bottom lane, we're going to take it, this is Boise State saying, look, we know you were going to do that. Here's our best response, and that is a very, very powerful setup at that.
And we've seen Lulu on Adopted Lemons as well. We've really seen Adopted Lemons able to pick up most any meta champion at the moment and able to provide Red Hots or the ADC at the moment the protection or the damage on the opposing laners that they need. So seeing a Lulu and a Varus, great matchup, and I do like how they instantly responded with the bot lane. We have a LeBlanc coming in the mid lane, and we haven't actually gotten to see, again, we haven't seen Lynx much at all in the mid lane there, but we haven't specifically seen BSU play against a LeBlanc very much. So more assassin focus there. We saw UNLV early game do a great job of peeling off and going for other lanes and roaming quite a bit.
And something that you have to think about UNLV have done as well with that LeBlanc pick in the last setup is they didn't prioritize their jungle this match. They have waited until the second rotation. You can see the Rise being banned away from Lynx in the mid lane. You're going to have the first ban of phase 2 coming out of Boise State really quickly. And already you're seeing, like you said, they need to change their strategy coming into game 2, and putting a power pick on Asovis in the mid lane is definitely a first step forward in the right direction.
One of the really cool things about that pick as well, I love seeing this LeBlanc. I even did the little clap thing like a little child. I'm very excited to see this LeBlanc, but a smart move to get rid of Rise immediately. Boise State had not picked up a mid laner. Rise is one of those champions that if you try to dive on him, he will lock you down and he will clean it up. And LeBlanc, as we know, loves to get up and close and personal with her opposing lane. And so a great move there as far as ban number 1 and phase number 2 for UNLV. As far as the rest of this ban is concerned, Cho'Gath, we just don't want to deal with him anymore. Another Rumble. So very, very similar to what we saw last round.
Any guesses on what we're going to see from the top laner here from Boise State?
Teemo. Yeah? No? Okay.
No, I'm kind of feeling an
Darn.
I'm kind of feeling
tried.
an Urgot. Maybe a Shen even to get the movement down into the bottom or mid lane.
Stand United is very, very strong right now too.
It is. And we've got the Rek'Sai banned out. Both Rek'Sai and Cho'Gath played last game by UNLV. Both very, very successful champions. We saw the pop-up and the silence from Cho'Gath shut down Boise State time after time. And as Zach is being picked up by UNLV, which they do have the Janna, we have seen some great pushback from the bottom lane there. But Varus and Lulu are definitely champions that would not be able to escape if a Zach was to engage hard on them and they were pushed in the bottom lane.
He's going to hover the Teemo.
There's the hover on that Teemo.
I do not think that will be locked in. As we said, we're probably looking for a top laner of some sort. Kennen, that's a very interesting pick as well. Not necessarily not meta, but a very, very strong and a little bit of an obscure pickup as well. So very excited to see what they call it, a showcase, right? A show match. We want to see the champions, and that's why we are making the bans and picks that we are. A little concerned, like you mentioned, Jolly, that Zach does have that hard engage, the ultimate to pull anyone who is in his area back into the team. And Boise State right now, not running the tankiest of teams. We do see the Urgot, though, who can supplement a little bit of that tankiness. So it actually looks like that Kennen mid, I had misspoke earlier.
Yeah, I figured the Kennen mid against the LeBlanc there. Wants to have the movement, just as LeBlanc is going to be jumping in and out. And with the Zach, it is a pretty good response so that Kennen can potentially disengage and then re-engage where he needs to and do a little bit more roaming maybe than we saw from Boise State the last game. Sion potentially being picked out, who is incredibly powerful right now. I am really liking UNLV's team comp.
It's very, very devastating, very, very in your face, and willing to pick up anything that is left behind, so we'll have to see what happens.
So something that we, as we get into the spectator delay and we have a little bit of time off, you can see the UNLV players pretty excited to get this game 2 underway. These compositions.
Yeah.
Slightly different than what we had in game 1. Something that I think we have to take a look at for Boise State explicitly is what that Kennen allows them to have for a strategy. Not only can they use that Kennen as well as the Lulu Wild Growth as a defensive ultimate and use that to stop the Sion from going in, the Zach, but they can also use that as a re-engage function. When you think about what goes into the strategy and the mechanics of a solid team composition, it's not only the ability to disengage, but it's the ability to re-engage off of running the way. And they have the ability to do that with the Jarvan, with the Varus. They have these opportunities to, when UNLV decides to go in, back off, play defensive, wait for those ultimates to go down, and then they can pounce and do what they want to do.
Absolutely, and another thing with the Kennen, what I really do like about this is if we're running a Kennen mid, his full mobility is huge. His roam, his ability to get either in the bottom lane, top lane, or even secondary counter jungle. You know, if he and Solpan team up and join the other enemy in their jungle, that's going to be a relatively free kill. Kennen will be able to put out a serious amount of damage, prioritizing for mid lane, and I'm very curious to see if LeBlanc jumps in and he's ulting, she's going to be locked right in place, and he'll continue to not only put out the damage, but full team CC once it gets to these 5s. This Kennen pick, like I said, probably my favorite piece of this entire game number 2 here.
Yeah, that lockdown and going into the Urgot as well with his new ultimate. I mean, once he gets those chains on, whichever champion is chosen is done for. So like you mentioned with LeBlanc being picked down, Urgot will be able to pick her up no problem. So it looks a lot more like a later game comp, kind of like we've been mentioning with Boise State. They have to prevent the bottom lane from just snowballing over. We saw the early game aggression from UNLV, and we're definitely going to see it again with this team comp. As for predictions, last time I went with Boise State based on the comp, and I was right. But we do have.
Well then,
and
we're gonna go 2 for 2.
All right,
we're gonna go 2 for 2 because I really like this team comp on UNLV. I really think that they're gonna be able to turn it around. And if they keep that pressure on, if they know just how far ahead they are, if they're confident in their plays, I think they can topple over Boise State.
And I'm going to kind of keep with UNLV. I'm less confident than I was last game, and they didn't. It's not like they had just a horrible game. They had a very strong game that just fell apart around the 25-minute mark. This team comp, the Sion, the Zach, there's not a whole lot of ability to keep them off of individuals. We talked about the wild growth and things of that nature. Yeah, it'll help for a couple of seconds, but like the re-engage, if you will, this is going to be a very back and forth. The team fight element here is going to be the big piece. These lanes could go either way, and we saw, and it's not going to matter. Once it hits that 20-25 minute mark, this 5-on-5 is going to be so fun to watch because there's going to be so much damage, whether it's the AoE, the hard engage. Both of these teams are going to smack into each other, and one's going to disengage, one's going to want to re-engage, and it's just going to be whoever gets the best pick out of it. So these picks are going to be huge this time around.
And making sure that everyone is on board. When the go button is pressed, everyone for both of these teams have to make sure that they are ready to go, because if not, someone's going to get left in the back and the team fight's going to be lost. But We are in our spectator delay right now, waiting for them to get into the match so we can have it for you. For everybody that's here watching at the Thomas & Mack Center, if you're lurking around and you want to come and check it out, this is the Mountain West eSports Showdown. We're doing this in tandem with the NCAA Men's and Women's Basketball Conference Championship for the Mountain West Conference. We've got University of Nevada, Las Vegas versus Boise State in a sense of exhibition matches in 3 separate games, League of Legends, Rocket League, and Overwatch. It has been a phenomenal day one, and we've only started ourselves in the first game. We know UNLV wants to get back in some action. They want to tie things up and get all of the forms of research to get things started for the Saturday match. Now, I got to ask you guys, being here, seeing the experience, seeing the crowds, now that you've had game one under your belt, what's it like being able to come in from a place like Boise and participate in an event as tremendous as this?
Do you want to start?
It's, I mean, almost indescribable. This is incredible. Being able to see the support that these teams already have, again, a non-varsity team and a varsity team. We have people from both Vegas and Boise that have come out to participate and watch this event. And yeah, we have basketball going on right across the way. So the fact that we've been able to combine these 2 sports into one is amazing. We've got so much support now. It's such an incredible feeling.
And I was going to go with the fact that you got to realize that Boise Greater Metro is maybe 330,000 on a good day. Just the fact that there's that many people within a 5-minute walking distance here is unbelievable. To hear the roar of the crowds over there, to see all of these individuals right here absolutely losing their minds, and to see these players in, not only their jerseys, but to have the setups that they do, thanks to whoever provided that. It's just, this is a fever dream, whether you are a small child, a kid in college who just wants to play video games, or a 20-something that just wants to spend your life, enjoying yourself. So.
Well, I know us at the desk are excited. I hope all of you fans out there for UNLV are excited, as well as everybody for Boise State. I'm going to let you guys take it away. Game number 2 starts now.
Thank you so much, Jump. And now we are in 1 minute. Nothing too crazy right off the bat, but some early damage going to be exchanged from Adopted Lemons and Mahad, it looks like. Just a little bit of a hey, how are you? A little bit of a counter jungle intelligence, as well as an opportunity to kind of figure out where the junglers might be starting.
Yeah, we can tell the teams are broken up into their respective areas already, so no hard engages when it comes to pre-buffs. We got a leash here for Sulpan on the blue, standard start, and then blue side as well for UNLV.
Does look like both of these junglers are going to start the blue route, so it's going to put Zach possibly in the top lane for this aggression. I do have a feeling that once he finishes his rotation, that is an area that he will start to move towards, because this Urgot, while he will become tanky at some point in time, in the early part of the game, he's kind of a glorified ADC without the full damage stats. So very interested to see where the Zach is going to move. But Sulpan actually finds him at his red buff and is going to put some damage down. He's going to try to make him kiss, but instead just putting some extra damage down. Sulpan now possibly flag and drag. This is a lot of effort and resources. Smite comes out and it does go to Sulpan. So a great steal there for Boise State University.
And you can tell what he was going for. We got Sovis engaging here on Lynx, who was trying to come in to back up Sulpan. Azla's throwing out his arms. He's going to find Jarvan, who's dealing a great amount of damage. And no re-engage by Jarvan. He's going to hang out in this jungle, though, because he knows that he's good.
And it looks like Wraiths are going to be picked up here. Sovis did try to grab Lynx on the way out, did put a solid amount of damage down, but Sulpan was just absolutely in the face of Azla and forced to get back. Almost got the passive. Early on, that would have been just detrimental, absolutely heartbreaking if you're a Zac player to lose it within the first 3 minutes. At least you don't give them the kill, which is Band-Aid. But it is a very, very strong and aggressive start from Boise State.
And being the red buff as well, Zach knowing exactly, or not Zach, sorry, Sulpan knowing exactly where he was going to be, prevents Zach potentially from engaging into any other lane, knowing he has to go back, pick up a few more CS. We've got a minimal CS lead here in Boise State's favor when it comes to the top lane and the bottom lane, but not enough to really make that big of a difference. We are only 3.5 minutes in. About half a K gold difference, though, in Boise State's favor.
Red Hots is, I don't know what happened, but he is on fire right now. Yeah, you said it was a little bit of a difference as far as gold, but he is way in that lane and playing very aggressive, which is the exact opposite we saw. I'm sure the champion selection has a piece of that, but I'm wondering if Boise State has a little bit of the first win mojo, as they say. They know that they are capable of picking up a game. They can breathe easy knowing that even if they are unbelievably far behind, they are capable of coming back. But that being said, it could all come crumbling down in a matter of seconds. Looks like Mahad going to be jumping on in. Asla going to go as well. Adopted Lemon's going to not be found, but instead, Red Hot's flashing out the exhaust is going to find Mahad. First blood coming for this Varus. And now the teleport in from mid lane. Lynx jumps in. Kennen going to find another. The shield from Janna does make sure that, yes, Asla gets out with less than 200 health, or 100 health, I'm sorry. And again, no passive pop, so that Zach is feeling pretty happy about that. Maybe not the fact that that kill happened, but it does mean that Boise State was able to pick it up. And apparently we didn't notice that Scion actually fell as well. I'm sorry, Urgot fell to the Scion. I didn't even see the
engage there.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that is going to equalize what happened in the bottom lane.
We do have all summoner spells gone now on UNLV sides when it comes to the bottom lane, whereas Boise State has one apiece. We've got the heal on Varus and a flash from Lulu, which is definitely the preferred summoner spell after taking down Tristana already. That way, maybe Lulu can flash in either to protect her Varus, or to engage onto, get the CC down on Janna or Tristana. Yule is trying to push his lane as hard as possible. Gedhawk is back in lane and has already taken a bit of damage. Sovis is potentially going to back here.
Wants to buy some new shiny items and will be able to do so now at this point, 32 CS.
And because of the engage, that great gank down in the bottom lane, we've got 37 to 23 CS when it comes to ADCs. Already being, just over 5 minutes in, that's a considerable lead, especially considering the Tristana had to back and is now re-engaging on her lane. Yeah, maybe with an item or two, but still being pushed back and having that heavy engage on Red Hots is pretty scary on Varus.
Absolutely, and as far as top lane is concerned, you're starting to notice that even though Urgot did die, he did manage to kind of keep the CS lead despite missing a wave or two, so that speaks to how far he was ahead. It's like Sovis wants to make something happen, doing a considerable amount of damage to Lynx. Varus already has his recurve bow, and you do notice that Tristana is not afraid to still be pushed up in this lane, though. Some extra damage will be coming out, but it looks like with the rotations, Jarvan actually was about to be caught out. He may not have been seen, and they may find this Janna in the river.
Yeah, we have some movement down. Sulpan's going to jump in on her. We've got pings coming out from both teams. Got to look at the bot lane. Mahad moving backwards. Lynx is doing a great amount of damage to the Janna there. There we go. Ultimate coming from Lynx. He's going to pick up the kill. Potentially get the engage here on this Drake. Now we've got some movement towards the middle lane. Sovis is in that push, and Lynx doesn't know it. Getting some damage done. The root down onto Lynx, and Sovis is going to be able to take him out. We've got Sulpan flagging and dragging, but the emote coming out from Sovis. He knows that he's okay.
That was a crafty play from Sovis, in the fact that he was able to not only pick up the Kennen, but crafty jump out. Sulpan seemed to do a little stutter step. The back and forth didn't quite know, thanks to autopathing, which way he was going to go. That's going to be a smooth move there with the emote, like you said. So Sovis feeling pretty solid about that, and that will start the inevitable snowball for this mid laner, yes, as we have seen in the past.
Oh, so good to see. And almost hitting level 6 here down in the bottom lane as well. So we're probably going to see a lot more aggression from both teams, and we're going to see which one might pick up that ultimate first based on the CS being more than double. A little bit of an engage there onto the Tristana. But yeah, more than double CS that Varus has over Tristana at the moment is massive. Less than 8 minutes into the game. He is so confident. And we've seen the confidence with Boise State. If they start really well, some people get hot-headed, but this team tends to go well with it. They tend to ride it out and not lose their heads.
Right, and whether or not that comes out with a victory is beside the point, because they were so far behind in game 1. In game number 2, they've got themselves quite a little bit of a lead, a little 2,000 gold plus. 8 minutes in, 2-2 is the kill score. No towers as of yet, as we still are pretty early in this game. We do see an Ocean Drake is open and available when these teams decide, but it looks like an adjustment here will put Sulpan in the top lane, or at least thinking about it, possibly seen out by Yule's ward.
Asla's relatively far behind, just hit level 5. We've got Sulpan already there, been at level 6 for a little while. So we have both level 5 in the bot lane. So not, oh no, we've got a Lulu and a Varus Varus now at level 6. So we might see a bit of pressure. Actually, Tristana heading back with the Janna. So move up to Dragon is what Boise State might be planning. Either that or a push on that bottom lane. And actually, they're not even going to move towards the Dragon. They don't really have any vision on it at the moment. Neither does UNLV. So they probably could have taken that if they had actually engaged on it. Sulpan being down in the blue, red side of the jungle. But they choose not to go for that objective and rather stay in lane, maintain that CS advantage, keep the pressure up.
And there is a ping for vision in the Dragon Pit. Red Hot's going to put a solid amount of damage here on Mahad. The Hail of Arrows going to find its intended target. That's about 50% lost from Mahad. And I do agree with you, Jolly. They should have probably put at least, and now we're seeing it, some vision here on the Drake side. It is very possible they could have picked it up as well. But to also talk about the lead that we were mentioning earlier, Asla only level 5. Not the strongest of ults, but better with the CC amount. The Elastic Slingshot is going to be queued up. Are they going for it? They should have vision of this. I thought that was the case. I was very, very scared there for Asla. As a Zac jungle type, it's very hard to not jump when you see an ADC all by its lonesome or what you said. Oh, but an ultimate there from Yule will start to zone out Sulpan. He's trying to move, but that scuttle buff isn't going to help so much. Flash out from Red Hots, flash out from Adopted Lemons, and that's going to be bad news as the ultimate Wild Growth is going to be used. Adopted Lemons is going to fall, but a great cannon ult is going to find a lot of individuals. Red Hots putting the damage down is now going to find the Zac. The Bloblets are up. He is looking for this Tristana. He may not find it. Gedhawk now is going to make it happen. Get over here. Managed to pick up the ultimate. Gedhawk one finding it. Red Hot's now also going to finish the Bloblets. That is a great move, and will it be a finisher? Gedhawk trying to find Tristana.
Oh! The failed rocket jump, that hurts. That means that Boise State now is able to push this lane after picking up that Drake. I mentioned with the last game, Red Hots was able to sit back and do as much damage as he wanted. Nobody was taking care of him. They focused Adopted Lemons, which, yeah, a good one to at least hit down. But Varus was able to sit back, and once Gedhawk engaged, was able to do the amount of damage that he needed to, and peel back as well. He played very safely there, but did what he needed to do. Sulpan and Gedhawk now going to take this Drake.
And even further to prove my point and give myself a little pat on the back, that cannon found 4 individuals and continued to lay waste to each and every one of them. And it allowed for Red Hots to just come in and do his job. So a great move there, a great movement from Boise State University, as well as Lynx in particular.
And looking at the CS again, double. We have 99, almost 100 here on Varus, and we have just 50 on Tristana. And he knows how much he's doing. That Ginzu's already makes it. So this Hail of Arrows is doing an absurd amount of damage. His Q is just able now to finish off anyone that he needs to, but getting the slow down in that area, as we saw in the team fight, getting it on multiple champions, made it so that the rest of the team was able to engage, which is great to get from an ADC. You generally expect that from a different role. So engaging, getting the CC, doing the damage, and letting the rest of the team clean up what they need to. It's such a great start for Boise State. And UNLV is maintaining themselves. They're only 2K behind. We're almost 12 minutes into the game. They're only behind 1 kill. So they've been doing a good job of at least keeping themselves slightly alive. We have Scion pushing the top lane at 2-0-1. But the Tristana at 0-2-1 is really hurting.
Missed ultimate from Varus, unfortunately.
Sulpan kind of taking a look, though. Sitting in the tri-bush, there is a pink ward, and so they're jumping back over. Sulpan's going to flag and drag over the wall, get back into the river. And we've got Shield now, Eye of the Storm, onto that first turret. But Lulu and Varus are going to do as much damage as they can before peeling back. We might even have some movement up towards the mid lane, potentially.
And again, I was going to bring up the fact that Varus missed his ult, unfortunately. Sulpan was in the wings. Had it landed, they probably would have picked up 2 underneath the tower, but instead are capable of pushing this tower as much as they want, doing a pretty large amount of damage before Sulpan even showed up. So whether they were able to push off the Tristana and Janna might have helped quite a bit more. But it looks like Sulpan going to go head-to-head here, stopping the Elastic Slingshot. Asla being very, very strong, and Sovis deletes Sulpan with a nice fury of abilities and the help of his jungler. So that's a great little tonic there, if you will, for the jungler of UNLV. He needed to find something, and as another assist will help.
That was a lot of damage coming out from Sovis, not taking any damage herself. able to now go back to lane. And yet we've had a bit of focus, not as much jungle presence in this game as we had last game, because we have such great pushes in every single lane. Giant CS lead on the Varus. They are very, very confident in this bottom lane. And at this point, this tower is essentially gone, so there's really not much that Zach can do. We've got Sion on the top lane has been quite terrifying. We've seen Sion and Urgot engage on each other many times. Actually, while there was an engage going in the mid lane, we had an engage up top. There was no kill that happened, but we might be moving back towards the top. Azla is going to show himself.
What was that?
Gedhawk is going to jump in and try to do some damage. Sulpan in the wings with that blue buff. Ultimate coming out from Zach. Azla taking some more damage. Sovis wanted to get the jump on Lynx, but was not able to make those chains connect.
I might have been wrong, but it looked like a messed up elastic slingshot of some sort as Azla was trying to make something happen, but instead just kissed the wall and was able to make some things happen that he wasn't necessarily looking for. Like I said, he was looking for the engage, instead kind of tried to peel out. We saw that Lynx was making the adjustment up towards that top lane, which would have been great. And while we were talking about that, it looks like tower number 1 has fallen in favor of Boise State University. No real surprise there, as that bottom first turret does bite the dust. And that will allow for the bottom lane, the ADC and support, to now rotate into this mid lane, which they've already had commanding presence of the lane and will now move that priority towards mid.
Yes, such a great rotation there. While the jungle, while top was engaging there, we saw Urgot and Sulpan moving in, and then Kennen move up, but at the same time, Lulu and Varus made their way up after taking that tower. So you mentioned the rotation, but that was probably one of the best that we've seen from Boise State. They tend to flounder when it comes to champion, select, and rotating to the proper, so that they can focus objectives as well as kills. So we're seeing a great game on that. Gedhawk going to do some damage here to Yule, but he should be able to get out no problem. At least maybe send him back home. He is a little
He still has that
Zach
passive
is
as well.
going to be sitting in this tri-bush, maybe trying to get an idea on whether or not there is a ward into it. And it doesn't look like Urgot has any idea that he's there. He did actually back. So now Urgot able to put the pressure up on this top lane. We still have Varus and Lulu in the mid lane as well, forcing Tristana and Janna to move up, even though that bottom lane tower is still in command of Boise State.
And kill lead is even, 15, almost 16 minutes in. Boise State with the gold lead as well. But all these players doing a phenomenal job, at least maintaining. The CS, though, is just something to behold. Each one of the individuals, with the exception of the mid laner, are pretty far ahead. Again, supports, you can kind of just throw that CS number out. That's not their main job, let alone the opposite. But Sovis is going to start doing a serious amount of damage here in the very near future. Already finishing Hextech Gunblade. He's already got his Sork Boots going. And then Kennen going the full hard engage route. The Cannonball Kennen, as I like to say, as he will ult in Bernazonias, hopefully lock down the entirety of UNLV and allow for the rest of his team to clean up, much like they did at that first Dragon Pit fight that we were talking about, Jolly.
Yeah, and a great push here by Boise State onto the mid lane. We do have Dragon up in 15 seconds, so I'd assume that we are going to see a rotation down that way by Boise State, maybe getting out that potential team fight down there. We have Sion and Urgot still doing their thing up in the top lane. However, the bottom lane is pushed towards Boise State's tower, so they do want to kind of be careful about that. Zach is going to elastic slingshot in, and Sovis just deleting Adopted Lemons. That was a ridiculous amount of damage. There was no chance that Adopted Lemons had to escape from that after Azla got the grab.
Like I was mentioning, this is one of those situations. UNLV has no problem sitting in a bush for a couple of minutes, hanging out until the enemy missteps, and that is exactly what happened. So they will find themselves the recipient of Ocean Drake number 1, unless Sulpan has something to say about this. Vision is coming out. Sulpan is waiting in the wings. He's not entirely sure he wants to make this jump, even though his bottom lane is there to help him. That will be Ocean Drake number 1. Or for UNLV, number 2 overall. So good move there from UNLV. Again, just more of a lackluster response from Boise State. They pretty much gave that one away. Not that they wanted to jump in wholeheartedly, but I felt like there were more individuals that could have put on damage than the others. So
yes, it's definitely a much safer game being seen from a missed ult there by Red Hot. Sorry, trying to pick off that Tristana. They are going to do a bunch of damage here to this tower. Not quite enough to take it out. We did have Eye of the Storm come out onto the tower there. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. I got so distracted by the missed ultimate that came out. About 1:45 left until Baron is up, so we're going to see a bit of focus there.
And so it looks like, yeah, they are basically using this Varus as a zoning mechanism. Whether or not he hits this ult is more or less to get the rest of the team from UNLV off of the tower they are currently hitting. It's what they did in the bottom lane. It's what they're going to continue to do here in the middle lane. And hopefully it will finally land at some point in time, netting them a handful of kills. And like I said, the Varus ult into a Cannon ult into a Cataclysm is a whole bunch of circles you don't want to be inside if you are the UNLV team.
Yeah, that's a hot pot full of destruction, and Azla's pulling up his slingshot. Does get Hawk. Wow, that was a fantastic push away. Azla is taking a little bit of damage, just focusing hard on that, but Hawk's just taking no damage in this. We do get the pop up from Scion.
Bounce
and the ultimate from Azla coming out. Hawk, will he go down? No, he is able to get under his tower. The pushback so that Yule is going to take a tower shot. Sulpan diving in, unable to get a kill, but at least protecting his top laner and putting the pressure back on.
A really awesome move there from Hawk. One, he knew Sulpan was on his way. That re-engage, though, might be the death of him. Elastic Slingshot number 2, no, not going to happen. I thought we might have a secondary re-engage there from Zach, but he decides to peel out. Hawk going 2v1. We mentioned this before game number 1. It has a awareness as far as champions are concerned that allows him to go into these 2v1 situations and doesn't have to come out ahead, but doesn't die in the process, which is almost as good as red turret number 2 now falls for Varus and the rest of Boise State.
Yeah, Hawk very capable of knowing exactly how competent he is, whether it comes to damage dealt or survivability. Azla is sitting here, and Boise State does not know he's there. He jumps in onto Lynx. Wow, that was a great blast cone to get Azla away. Baron just now coming live. We do have vision on Boise State's side from that scuttle. And both teams are pinging out and want to at least get vision, maybe another potential engage around these objectives. We've seen many team fights start at both Dragon and Baron, and there's been a lot of focus on Baron now with the recent buffs.
Turret number 3 going to fall in the favor of Boise State University. Oh, feeling so good, we're even going to emote. Azla jumping over, trying to make a push here on this mid lane, realizes very quickly that Boise State wants tower top number 2, or top tower number 2 if you speak normal English. Sylvis now searching out his jungle, trying to find out whether or not there's an individual of Boise State here. Instead, we'll just find nothing and head back into the mid lane. UNLV does need to find an objective other than Ocean Drake. While that is an okay piece for their team comp and the ability to sustain the lanes, they need to find a tower here. They need to get a little bit more gold on the rest of their teams and the carries at that. Again, can't entirely tell where individuals are at as far as builds are concerned, but Sovis, like I mentioned, will continue to snowball, will continue to put out very large burst damage, and the trickiness of this individual LeBlanc is something to remember as well. As we saw, he was able to 2v1, pick up the kill on Kennen, and then was able to get away from the Jarvan with the push of a button.
But considering the Boise State has 3 towers up on UNLV, UNLV has just the 1 kill lead, but is doing a good job of not letting that gold differential get too high. They know that if Boise State has that upper hand, they're going to be able to collapse on them, whether it's the entire team together or singling individuals out. We have 1:50 now on to another Dragon, so we've got heavy focus on objectives. Red Hots and Adopted Lemons doing their best to push this mid lane as much as possible.
Can I get an adopted Red Hots Varus ult miss counter on the screen somewhere?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a single one connect. And that is one of the things about Varus. You know, if you don't make that ultimate, you're gonna have to wait for the cooldown. There's not much you can do about it. Sovis is jumping and taking a bunch of damage. Wow, Red Hot's taking out the kill there. We've got the slow hail of arrows and the Cataclysm onto Yule. Not much that Brett Barker can do at that point. We've got Yule's passive. Maybe you're gonna do a little bit of damage to Adopted Lemons, but not gonna survive long enough to capitalize on anything. And like I said, the pressure on this mid lane is crazy from Boise State. Moving up towards Hawk, who looks like got caught out. Azla is being popped up now. Hawk does escape. Polymorph coming out on Azla so that there's nothing else that he's able to do.
Very interesting. Did you see that Zach slide across? I'm wondering if he polymorphed him as he was launching.
It was, yeah.
Bloblet's coming out. It actually looks like he's going to be caught. Boise State trying to make sure they can get this Zach, and they do. Hawk 1 playing a little cat and mouse, says you almost had me, then the rest of the team showed up. They're looking for tower number 2 here in the mid lane. Instead, we'll just put a healthy amount of damage onto it and peel back in the lane, allowing for Red Hots to continue farming this. Oh, and by the way, he has a red buff. Where he picked that up, I'm not entirely sure. Probably one of those 2 kills that just happened. 23 minutes in now, and Boise State showing even more prowess as that lead starts to teeter the 5,000 and 6,000 marks.
I'm surprised there wasn't a movement by Boise State there towards the Baron based on the fact that Zach was taken out. His passive was down. If you have the smite and the enemy team does not at the moment, it's always a great idea to engage, especially while Baron is up. And they were already mid lane. Kennen was the only one down bottom, so a bit of a surprising move there, but they really do want to push this mid lane. They want to push to end the game the way that they did last time. Getting that first inhibitor turret, getting the inhibitor, and then immediately going to the Nexus turrets and the Nexus itself. It seems like they want that mid lane hard push.
And if they can finish it out, it will be very, very easy for them to do so, especially as Varus now sitting at 250 CS is just absolutely dominating his lane opponent. Gedhawk even making sure he can join the fray, forcing the ultimate out from Yule, who really just wanted to get that tower, and GTFO, as they say. There's an ult that lands, and there is so much damage. You may be an AP mage, but in jumps Kennen. He's going to lock down one and pick it up. Asla now trying to make something happen, but it looks like Red Hots is going to still stay alive. A double kill for him, forcing the flash out from this Janna, and is going to continue on. It looks like Lynx making the hunt into the jungle, but instead will push out Adopted Lemons, getting another tower in favor of Boise State University, number 4 for them, as they continue to push onto this inhibitor turret.
I had said there was no MVP last game. Red Hots is on fire.
And then some. Wow. He's right now, 7-0-3. Already has a wit's end. Ginzu's Rageblade has his scimitar and as picked up some more attack speed with the recurve bow as well.
Now maybe some movement over towards Baron. We do have a live dragon as well. So many objectives that Boise State is capable of collapsing on, because at this point, UNLV is scared to engage with the amount of damage that Red Hots is putting out, even being caught out, as we saw with that LeBlanc, finally getting that first ultimate that hit. Congratulations on that, Red Hots. And capitalizing on it perfectly, knowing just how much damage he's doing. Right. Knew to stay in that fight, even though there was some follow-up. He knew that the rest of his team was going to collapse in as well and ensure that he didn't get picked off there. Adopted Lemons getting polymorph out on Brett Parker Lover. They know now that there are some champions here near this Baron, but UNLV does have the vision down at the moment, so if Boise State does decide to engage on that, they'll at least be aware, maybe attempt to jump in and smite it away.
We'll see what happens. Again, we're doing the ward wars, as I like to say, here around the Baron Pit at 25 minutes in. Solpan wants to make sure there's not another member other than this lonely Janna, making sure he can't clear wards. Again, that priority is going to be huge for Baron, if not the strongest buff in the game. A very huge opportunity to clean up a team, even if you don't get the 50-50. Asla now moving around his jungle, going to double check to make sure Boise State isn't in the Baron Pit. Throws a ward over the wall, notices all is clear and okay. Red Hots now moving forward, and you brought up the fact that Red Hots knew to plant his feet and fight. It's also a very good timing from Boise State University, who last game kept jumping into things, getting nothing. This time, they're showing up at just the right time that UNLV is getting confident, trying to make plays, and one individual turns into 2 individuals, turns into 4 individuals in a matter of an instant. So the great setup here and great moves from Boise State University.
Yeah, they're very confident in what they are capable of doing, and they're not wrong when they engage based on it. I'm so surprised that they have not moved down to this Baron, because UNLV has had to play defensively this entire time. They had 3 members having to push back that mid lane. Yule wants to take a look, because we have a ward on the other side that Boise State just took out. Looks like they just want to wipe away as many wards as they can, hopefully now engaging on Baron.
They're going to do the 4-man goon squad bush. They're going to hang out right here by Baron.
Except for Red Hots.
UNLV is going to think that they are taking Baron. Asla is going to be the target of priority here. Looks like the rest of Boise State going to enter the bounce house. 2 individuals, Gedhawk being just relentless in his pursuit, and in comes Lynx from the north. The ult is down, so is Brett Parker Lover, and it looks like they will finally jolly move on to that Baron that you oh so wanted.
Yes, I guess they just wanted Kennen to get another kill. That was a great rotation. UNLV did not realize that Kennen was still up top there. They were capable of knowing they did have vision, but because of the engage there, the ultimate coming in from Zach, they wanted to focus on Red Hots, but I think they keep forgetting just how much damage Lynx is doing. Now Red Hots is going to be able to close this out. Blue team, so it looks like Solpan did get the smite and kill on that. Passive pops up from Zach. And Sovis is going to be taking a ridiculous amount of damage, while GetHawk just pushes the rest of the team down away. It's like
GetHawk
Sovis
1
now
took the entirety of that fight in his own area, was able to hold off all of UNLV while the rest of his team was picking up Baron.
3 members, while the other 2 members of UNLV were attempting to do what they could to discontinue Boise State from getting that Baron. But
they did jump for the 50-50, almost had it, but Solpan, quick on the smite, was able to finish it up.
Yes.
So it looks like that wasn't enough. We want ourselves an Air Drake as well. They will get just that extra movement speed added to the board in Boise State University's favor. 14-7 the score, 28 minutes into this, and the gold lead is at 10,000. That is a pretty tough mountain to climb. UNLV capable of doing it, and Boise State last game did just about the same, so we know that not all is lost if you are a UNLV fan. And again, I said it and it happened, this game is Boise State's to lose, only last time it was UNLV's hands that dropped the ball. So hopefully Boise State can close this out, and we're seeing, wow, that is a lot of helms for not only Zach, but as well as that Scion in the top lane. They do not want to be taking the AAP damage that is available on not only Kennen, but the extra stacks from the Varus.
Varus, yeah, he's doing a lot of damage with that E. And all 5 now capable with the Baron buff, going back, picking up the buffs from their own jungle. All 5 of them are going to try to push as many towers as they can and close this game out. Having that 10k gold lead means they're doing an immense amount more damage than UNLV is. So we've got the split from 1 or 2 champions, 1 or 2 members of Boise State. They're doing a great job of kind of tempting UNLV to engage on them. Yule ulting in. We have the elastic slingshot from Zach. Link's doing as much damage as he can, ulting there. Unstoppable. Sulpan holding off 3 members. Yule going down. He has his passive pop up, and GetHawk gets him. And GetHawk is still at almost full health.
I'm not entirely sure why Yule didn't at least turn and try to fight that, but a hard engage from UNLV turns out to be the most unfavorable of jumps, as Boise State cleaned that up relatively easy, only losing 1 individual. And like I said, we saw Yule fall, but instead of turning to fight, even doing a minuscule amount of damage, ran back with his team while the passive was up. So again, whether or not that was intended is an interesting fact. But Boise State now will continue to put pressure on the jugular vein of UNLV. Whether it's going to be the push, no, we're just going to go back shopping. Let's go to the mall. We've got some items to buy, and we have a mountain of gold to spend.
Yeah, I think they want to all group up as 5. They might as well pick up the items that they can. I mentioned they rotated down to grab the buffs and then push the lane. Had they all survived that fight, I think they would have tried to push it out until the end. But now the 5 of them can pressure exactly where they want to. And the items we saw as well, we have I think an 0-3 and 2 Tristana, if I'm not mistaken, and still 0 kills down on Red Hots, meaning, yeah, there we go, there's the item build. We have Renan's Wits End, Blade, Ginzu's, and then a QSS still from Varus. So even though he has been very successful with his engages, he's still playing safely and taking that MR. And we only have 3 completed items from Tristana. Definitely not where she wants to be right now. 9-0 and 4 on the Varus, so he is doing a ridiculous amount of damage, even though he doesn't quite have the lead yet.
Tristana does hit a really bad, gnarly, a very strong 3-item power spike. That's what we were talking about in the last game as far as ADCs are concerned. So definitely nowhere near the Varus, who's just now about to complete a 6th item here in the very near future. But look at how much damage he is capable of putting out. You only need 2 individuals from Boise State University, and you can push in any way. The split push on Boise State is absolutely perfect right now. And if they don't make any large mistakes, they should have game number 2 in their pocket going 2-0 in the week. But again, we said that about UNLV in game number 1. But right now, a massive gold lead, 11,000 almost at this point. And as you mentioned, we've got an unkillable Varus on Red Hots on Varus right now. So that is just, you dream about these kind of games. Elastic Slingshot is going to come in, but so much damage is coming out. GetHawk 1 picking it up. There was an individual there, but Red Hots picks up number 2. Solpan finding Yule, going to continue the pressure here. The passive is out from Yule. This time he stayed to fight. It looks like a Monsoon going to push out GetHawk, but a flash, jump, and a lot of damage will mean Lynx is able to get the final hit. Inhibitor number 1 down in Boise State's favor. They can close this game out if they so choose.
Oh, absolutely. They've been waiting for that as soon as they're able to get the majority of the team out. I'm not sure why UNLV really engaged on that. We had the Zach jumping in, knowing that he was not nearly powerful enough to stay out from under tower. And yeah, there we go. damage now on to the Nexus. Not quite enough because they want to see if they can get one final kill, but no, we got the Pangu jab, and Boise State 2-0 now. No real winner technically because this is just a scrim, but a great start pre-tournament.
You win pride points. That's what you get here if you go 2-0 at the Mountain West Esports Challenge. A absolutely stellar game there from Boise State University. You see GetHawk 1 leading the handshake, Sulpan to follow. They had a just monumental top lane and as well into that bottom lane. When you have a Varus that has a perfect game, it's going to be nothing short of that. Absolutely perfect. So a big thumbs up to Red Hots, who was absolutely on fire. A little bit of a replay here. You see Asla jumping in, is going to get the first, tries to Q Adopted Lemons, not able to, but Red Hots flashing into the bush, breaking sight, is able to pick up first blood. This is where the fight at the top is happening, so there it is right there. Yul picking that up. But Lynx jumping in is going to close that out as Asla falls in that fray, if I am not mistaken. Ultimate here from Yul is one of the dragon fights we had earlier. A great move there from Asla is going to make Red Hots and Adopted Lemons. But watch here in the north as Lynx comes in. He's going to hit all 5 of these. No, I'm sorry, 4 of them, as Mahad was forced to flash over the wall and was the only member able to do something for a good handful of seconds there, while Red Hots here in the south was just picking away at whoever he so chooses. So that was awesome. And then GetHawk, of course, to finish it up with the wannabe Scorpion grab, is just going to meat grinder the individual that he gets. And one final jump here. It looks like Sevos is going to jump in. Instead, that's what I was bringing up, Red Hots. It was encouraging the hard engage. I dare you to jump into me. Sulpan to follow up, flag and drag Cataclysm to lock down the team. And again, another instance of I dare you to jump into me. There's 1, there's 2 that just did it, and he's able to pick up a 3rd one, and I believe a 4th here, if I am not mistaken.
This was an ace.
Yeah, so it's just unbelievable how on fire Red Hots was. And this is that fight I was talking about that pretty much sealed the fate for UNLV. You see that the Kennen ult does come in. It is going to lock down these individuals that are dropping on this Varus. Great priority of the targets, but unfortunately, the damage on Boise State University's side is just way too much. So a great showing here from Boise State University. And we really hope to see, as far as what happens tomorrow, how these 2 teams will move on.
Yeah, and even more exciting, the actual tournament on Saturday.
And stay tuned. We do have some Rocket League for you next after the break.
10 steps back till you get to where you're going. Just research where you're going. A t-shirt where it's snowing. A preacher not quite knowing what he's saying. What he's saying. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. When you lose control, it's so hard to hold. All this weight up on my shoulders. I hate to say I told you so. Take 10 steps back. Close your eyes and listen. And look from somewhere different. I know that I've been slipping. I fold my tie and ribbon to hide my scars. That's how it starts. Ooh, I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. I don't wanna be around when you lose control. When you lose control, it's so hard to hold. All this weight up on my shoulders. I hate to say I told you so.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We are live from the Thomas & Mack Center here for the Mountain West eSports Showdown. We just concluded the League of Legends segment, and it has been a tremendous time thus far. We've got the NCAA Men's and Women's Mountain West Conference Championship taking place not too far away. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Bill Jump Carter. I'm joined here with the lovely I almost called you Adam. You're not Adam. You're Lisa.
I could be Adam.
You could be Adam. All right, we've got Lisa. We've got Adam. Guys, how we doing?
After that game of League of Legends, I'm pretty sure I need to get my heart checked. I might be having a heart attack. That was a lot of fun, and it is only going to continue from here.
Yeah, great to see both teams playing incredibly well. Very, very not one-sided games, which is fantastic, both to cast and watch.
It was quite the doozy. We had mixed predictions on the desk, but it was Boise State that walked away with a 2-0 in that in that two-match show match. But now we've got a little bit more action-packed for the viewers that might not know as much about esports. So for those of you that are watching at home, as well that are watching here live at the Thomas & Mack Center, we've got Rocket League coming up next. It is going to be UNLV taking on Boise State. As you can see the rosters there, Boise State having JJ Sky, Acero, and Cosmo Buster. And then for UNLV, it's Pip, King, and Mango. Guys, obviously you're from Boise State. Got any words for the Rocket League team that they're bringing to the table today?
This team likes to go fast. They are very, very crafty. They like the long ball. They love to make sure that the aggression is on the side of their opponent as opposed to playing a little bit defensive, wait for the issue to arise and then capitalize. They will be the ones to make the first strike, and if not, then it kind of tends to crumble.
We're going to pull the format up for you guys right now. It is this show match. It is an exhibition again today. There's going to be 8. I think that's getting changed actually to 5 for today. It's going to be the exhibition matches to showcase each individual's team skill. Standalone matches, of course, no winner. And then as just like the League of Legends segment we just did, that is going to be all of the research for these two teams for the best of 7 to crown the winner on Saturday. Now, I'm going to let you, Jolly, give the viewers at home, for the people that might not know what Rocket League is.
Yes. Rocket League's a pretty basic one to describe. You've got cars, they jump, they ride on walls, they ride on ceilings and upside down, and there's a soccer ball. There is a basketball mode. I don't believe we're playing that at all during this.
I wish we were. I mean, it makes sense.
It would make sense, right? Yes, and we saw some images actually there. But yes, it is essentially a game of soccer with cars that are all over the place. There's 3v3 in this. And I'm not sure exactly with the time on each of the matches.
It's the standard match length for competitive play. Obviously, they're taking it from some of the rule sets of like the RLCS and other scenes of that effect. But let's go ahead and talk about Boise State. We've got the 3 members coming up for that. They are looking locked, loaded, and ready to fire.
Hey, finger guns.
I'm loving these jerseys.
Are you?
I wanna like. I know that's a tangent, and I gotta throw that off.
That's
but
all right.
the jerseys for these are absolutely miraculous.
You're only seeing half. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just wait until tomorrow because we have even more.
Don't tease me with these shenanigans.
If you thought the white was amazing, just wait till you see the other spectrum.
Well, like we said, they do enjoy themselves going fast. Again, you've got JJ Sky, Acero, and Cosmo Buster, interactive media, and then you've got the GIM. Now, Adam, you want to go into that a little bit more for the people at home that aren't necessarily familiar with the GIM major.
So the GIM major is a really interesting piece, and again, Jolly, I might have to reference you because you actually went to college. GIM program is the Gaming, Interactive Media, and Multimedia.
Mobile.
Mobile, I'm sorry.
Gaming, Interactive Media, and Mobile.
Exactly. And so basically, it's a great way for individuals who are looking for like a computer science degree of sorts are able to get their hands into some other kinds of mediums as opposed to just specifying in PC work kind of stuff. And it's a great opportunity for these kids to not only continue their careers in esports, but also have a degree to follow up with it.
So we talked about Boise State. Now let's kick it to the home crowd favorite. It's going to be University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We've got their 3 members that I know they're very excited to play and get things off. Now, I know you guys have tried to do a little bit of research as we're going to get a nice little shot of them. Look at that. They're ready to go. Lady Luck might be on their side. Any words, Jolly, about what you're expecting from this UNLV squad today?
I think we're going to see a lot of counterplay. I think they're going to try to force the aggression out from Boise State, kind of how Adam was saying they play, and turn it around. And I think we're going to see some really, really fast plays from both of these teams. I know it's Rocket League, so that's to be expected, but I'm expecting a lot of goals from both sides.
Pib, King, and Mango is your 3-man roster for Rocket League. It's not League of Legends. It's not the 5v5. We're sitting at 3v3s for this entire matchup. And I think for any of the fans that are watching, whether it be here at the Thomas & Mack Center or online, whether it be on Twitch, the Mountain West Conference website, anything of that effect, if there's any game in esports to watch with no knowledge of gaming, Rocket League is definitely one of those ones,
Absolutely.
It has been interesting to see. We've, in between the games, in between the segments, we've had these conversations with everybody, and being able to speak to these individuals that are coming in, they're hanging out, they don't know what esports is, and they're here to watch some basketball, but they come in and they see League of Legends, they see Rocket League, they see that Overwatch. You've got the stickers over there by the Valley Bank of Nevada. It is overwhelming, I think, in a good way, to see what you have to offer, bridging this gap between esports and traditional sports. You guys, what's been your take on it thus far?
Well, and what I was going to bring up is you kind of had alluded to the way that the Rocket League is set up. It's accessible to everybody. This is a perfect example of an everyman game, something that anyone can do, all the way to the caliber of confusion that the League of Legends had. So the fact that not only do we have very interesting and intricate games, we do have some other individual systems in place that will allow for not only these games to continue on, but for new individuals to develop these kinds of competitive games and situations.
And I believe that is the reason we have an event like we do today. The accessibility of gaming broadening, even to mobile games and things of that nature, has made it so that there are more and more gamers every single day. Just as many sports fanatics now are gaming fanatics. So to have a game like Rocket League, which is simple and accessible, actually be something that we are hosting tournaments for, is also great to see, meaning that people that just want to get into casual games or games that seem less casual have the chance to play them on a professional level.
And you talk about a professional level, and you talk about the infrastructure that obviously developing as a gamer and growing up. Boise State actually has their varsity program. We talked about this in the League of Legends segment. They have these eligibility requirements that you have to have. You have to have a 3.2 GPA. Obviously, you have to be enrolled in the university. They have the 4-year limit, the same way that they do in the NCAA Division I for all their other sports, as well as not active professional, nor have ever signed a professional contract. I think that point in and of itself is extremely important, because you think about League of Legends, there have been some pro players that have decided, you know what, I'm not getting the play time, I'm not on the roster, I'm going to go to college now. And so they're getting these scholarships and they're getting the opportunity to go, but that kind of skews the development sometimes. And so I think that it's very, telling of how much on board Boise State is specifically for the development of these players, like what you're mentioning, explicitly because they're giving them that opportunity. They're saying, look, you've never played professionally. This is what you want to do in a career. Let's help create you and develop you as an adult, but let's also give you an opportunity to get an education and do what you love.
Yeah, which is a great opportunity for many of these players, especially since it is a newer program that has been running at Boise State, just 2 or 3 years old now, for us to have this many games in rotation and for us to listen to the audience of Boise State. Hey, which games do you want to see pro played? Which games are you guys interested in creating a league for? And then showing up with it and creating events like this.
Adam, I have to ask you. Obviously, you've worked in conventional media. You've worked with radio. You've worked with these different ventures. What do you think it means to? What does it mean to you as a gamer, being at a desk like this, seeing not only the crowd, both the ones that know gaming, the ones that don't know gaming, but more importantly, bringing that to the conventional media floor that you grew up in?
We talked about Hungry Box earlier today, Liquid Hungry Box, and he won a tournament not too long ago. I can't remember which one it was, and he says he mentions a situation in which somebody told him, "You will never make it. you will never do anything with video games. And he won that tournament and kind of lost it. That's what this is for me personally. I spend most of my time behind a microphone. Nobody sees me. I do radio, you know. The fact that I can take something that I would typically leave off air, embrace it, and have it reach this caliber, not just for me, but for every person out there who was told, you're sitting playing video games, you're wasting your life. It's the exact opposite. Now kids are getting a new life. Yeah, not everyone's going to be able to run a 4-second 100 kind of thing, but you can sit down and find a game you're good at, and one that you love, and one that you can not exploit, but that's what I'm going to use for your benefit, whether it's for casual or professional play.
And you think about what schools like Boise State are bringing to the table with that varsity program. Chris Haskell being a big proponent of that. Lisa, as a student, what is the atmosphere like with the development of this program? A parent in the school, and what's it like having the school support you for something that you enjoy so much?
Oh, it's been absolutely incredible for those few individuals that created the program to have come up with this idea, pitched it, and Boise State to embrace it, and then allow the players, the students of Boise State, to give in their own personal opinions, their own recommendations on everything. It's been absolutely amazing. There are different clubs. There is a League of Legends club within Boise State, and then they differentiate between those, though, by adding in an actual varsity club, because it does mean that much to a lot of players, and Boise State is doing a great job of recognizing that.
Well, we're going to go ahead and hear a little bit more about what Boise State's varsity program has to offer. We've got an interview here with Chris Haskell. We'll let you guys take a listen and see what you think.
That's not Chris.
Professor and head coach of eSports for Boise State. How are you doing today?
Oh, great. Thanks for having us here.
It has been quite a journey getting to the Mountain West eSports Showdown. But before we get into that, you spearheaded starting and launching the eSports program at Boise State. Talk to me about that experience.
I'm a professor. Specifically, I work in games and simulations, and I was just doing some research. And I got to that point that I think that every scientist in a disaster movie gets to, when they realize that this asteroid is hurtling toward us, and you've got to tell the president. In our case, the university president, my faculty and things like that, telling them this thing is going to happen, and we don't need to just see what happens. We need to get in front of it and be one of the first.
And that you have done. Now there is a varsity program
Yep.
at Boise State. For those that aren't as familiar, do you want to dive into that a little bit for us?
Okay, so a varsity program at a university means that it has official recognition, that the university allows them to trade on their name, as it were. You get to use university name and colors and everything that every varsity program does, that you have faculty assigned to it, that you have resources like space, which are very valuable on a university, and that's what makes a varsity program. You can add more layers to that, like lots of scholarships and facilities, big special facilities, and our university is also moving in those directions too.
Now, support is obviously something that everybody seeks to have from their university. What has been the Boise State reception, whether it be the faculty, the staff, the students, since launching this varsity program?
Well, Boise State, you have to know, there's a philosophy called blue turf thinking, right? I mean, we've got blue turf, so
yes.
We're already a little out there. But the university itself kind of has this kid brother chip on its shoulder. Like, you're not going to tell us what we can and can't do. And so ideas that move the needle, that are really interesting and exciting, get people excited. So the reception has been amazing, right? They get that we want to be the biggest esports program in collegiate, that we want to have the biggest and the first arena for watching, and those will open in the fall, that will have the biggest training center, that will do all of those things bigger than anybody else, because there's a once-in-a-generation opportunity, a gold rush moment, where people who have vision and mobility can capture something that they would spend a century trying to recapture after it's already gone.
So let's transition now to the Mountain West Esports Showdown.
Yep.
We are here at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We are at the Thomas and Mack Center. We are, like we said earlier, a basketball toss away to the stadium itself. What has been that experience for you, not only wedding the two events together, but bringing something like esports to a physical location like this?
We've done other physical location events, so our players are used to it. Well, we were invited and did a main stage competition against Colorado State, a foe, right, a conference foe or friend, in Overwatch earlier in the year. It was October. And so we're familiar with it. We do all of our what we call regular season games in front of other people. we gather in the same room to do those things. So for them, this is much cooler and bigger, but kind of normal, kind of. The marriage of these two things, basketball and esports, makes complete sense to me. I mean, how many NBA teams have their own esports arms? They share much of the same community, basketball and esports. So to be here to answer your question, long and arduous way to get to it, is that we feel uplifted and sustained and excited that the Mountain West gets it. You know, that folks like Carolyn Henry get it, and they want us here, and we're happy to help that happen, right? And we'd like to see it grow. We'd like to see the Utah States here. We'd like to see the Nevadas here. You know, and many of the other schools be able to participate in these in the future, and that looks like the direction we're heading.
Well, the excitement and the energy of the room for the next 3 days is definitely apparent as we can see people hustling and bustling and moving around. That's going to do it. Chris, thank you for so much for coming and hanging out, and good luck to Boise State this weekend.
Well, thanks a lot.
There we go.
And we're back here at the Mountain West Esports Showdown. Had a little interview with Chris Haskell, and as we're working through a couple, technical difficulties, I've got another individual that I want to bring us, the Director of Esports for UNLV. Robert, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. Now, we gave Chris his spotlight. I know he's the visiting team for this weekend.
Yeah.
What's it like for you having this event here at the Thomas & Mack Center at UNLV?
It's amazing. Chris iterated a lot of what I would have said, bringing this together with basketball, seeing it together happening, and actually seeing it happen at UNLV for the very first time like this, it's extraordinary. I couldn't believe it was, you asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have thought this would happen. You asked me 3 months ago, I said, there's no way we could do this in 3 months.
Now, I talked with him a little bit about the wedding between, obviously, the Mountain West Conference Championship that you have going on right now with the men's and women's basketball teams and the esports side of that. What has been your experience working with the Mountain West Conference and garnering their support for this project?
They have been amazing. I mean, the amount of enthusiasm, the resources that they put forward, and the excitement that they're adding to actually doing this in the short period of time, from the very beginning of time when they said, let's do this, until today, just unbelievable. Great conference, very forward-thinking, very aggressive about this.
As esports grows, as you see, we talk about Boise State and the varsity program that they have, what's the roadmap look like for UNLV?
I think they've got a perfect roadmap. I'd love to see that happen at UNLV. I'd like to see us moving from, the 8-bit club and elevating that into, varsity sports. I mean, there's a process that you have to go through, and you don't just do that overnight. But this is a great first step.
Obviously, 8-bit is providing that infrastructure, providing that community, almost a family in a lot of ways for a lot of these players that are coming in and wanting to get a hold of video games. Obviously, you guys are giving them an outlet, something like this. You've got the Mountain West jumping on board. Nobody knew 5 years ago that esports was going to be, where it's at. Obviously, someone that's been working in esports for a while, I didn't know 5 years ago that this is where it's going to be. What do you think colleges have as far as the importance levels? What do you think that the experience is like with these players and these kids that are coming into college and they're getting these opportunities to play esports in the games that they love in college?
Well, I think it's opening up an entirely different aspect of college and higher education to them. Here we are in Las Vegas. It's the entertainment capital of the world, right? We've got a great gaming program at UNLV. But you add that element to it, now suddenly inclusive of gaming is esports. That opens it up to all of those young gamers across the country and around the world who've been thinking about, I got to go to college, but, I really love gaming. So where do those meet? These programs bring those two together and allow this marriage of what they're passionate about with getting an education.
All right, I'm going to give you a moment to stand on your pedestal. Again, we gave Chris his time. It's your time now. UNLV, obviously, you're severely invested into the gaming scene there, into the esports scene. What do you think is some of the defining features of UNLV's esports program that some of the other universities and colleges across the U.S. don't necessarily bring to the table?
Well, this is really a great question for us in particular, because I actually work in the International Gaming Institute here at UNLV. And we designed and launched, I think, one of the very first esports courses. So we actually have a course here at UNLV. It's called eSports Lab, and I'm the instructor of it. And my course is around building business models, integrating esports with entertainment, like these big buildings that are behind us here. So we look at them and how they're investing millions in trying to understand how do they integrate esports into the future of entertainment, into an environment where maybe gambling isn't so important anymore, but entertainment is. So we built a course around modeling how a business model around esports and entertainment, not just purely playing the games, but the whole aspect of the ecosystem around esports.
As an instructor, as you're building this curriculum, what sort of market research did you do when developing this curriculum and creating this roadmap throughout the semester for the students that take your course?
So the first thing you have to do when you define a syllabus is you've got to figure out what are the objectives, what are you trying to teach, right? And you learn that by going into the ecosystem and diving deep. What is so unique about this ecosystem that has driven this worldwide growth? Why is it so popular? Why does this generation so engage to it? And why did you grow up playing video games? Answering those questions are clues to designing a syllabus, which is what we did. And then you find subject matter experts. So for example, last semester in my class, I had Nolan Bushnell as a lecturer in my class.
Oh, really?
The founder of Atari.
Wow.
Lectured in my class. That's pretty cool.
No, while I'm way too young to have been played Atari, the fact that you can come in and get that sort of pedigree, it's like someone, a Hall of Fame football player coming in and giving a speech in your sports and conditioning class or something. It still has that reflective effect,
It really does, and he is so connected into esports today. I mean, he's, the guy's in his 70s, but he's ultimately arguably the founder of esports, right? He created Pong,
the first ever competitive game.
Yeah.
It has been fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We are going to kick to a short break. When we come back, it is going to be the Rocket League segment. We've got things ready to rock and roll, and I know the cars are fueled and ready to throw those blasters and fly through the air and score some goals. We'll see you guys in a second.
If you want the crown, then you've got to break them down. Break them.
I had the roses, but never your heart. I lived a dream, now I'm in the dark. Oh, 'cause you ran away and took my life, and so ripped me to pieces. Just let it all go. My heart was on fire, but you let me burn. You got me wired, now there's no return. No, you took my heart, you took my soul. Rip me to pieces, let it all go.
Well, we changed out some wires and fixed the little things. We had some little gremlins that we found in the computers, and so we had to get those fixed up. But we are back here for the Mountain West eSports Showdown. Set number 2. We've got Rocket League coming up. My name is Jump. I'm joined here, of course, with Lisa and Adam. All right, guys, we got Rocket League coming up.
Oh, yeah.
The second league.
It is going to be no delay. I'm going to let you guys take a hold of it because we are getting Rocket League set up here.
Awesome.
One last thought coming into the setup between UNLV and Boise State. Who you got winning?
I'm going to take, well, you know what? I'm going to go with my boys, Boise State. I do know how they play, and they're very, very strong. So I also did them dirty by choosing UNLV both last time.
Lisa?
Yeah, they're strong players, but you know what? I'm just going to take the other side of the coin because at this point we have not seen them play against each other. So I want one of us to be right.
And the best part is you don't get a tiebreaker because my vote doesn't count. It is the best. For those of you that are hanging out here from the Thomas and Mack Center, we are quite adjacent to the NCAA Men's and Women's Basketball Championship. So come on, hang out, have some fun, say hello. You can high-five me in the corner. You could probably high-five them while they're doing something. Probably not. That's not a good idea. But alas, we are going to get right into the matches. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and give it right over to you as we transition into game.
Thank you so much, Jump. We appreciate it. And for those who are unaware, Rocket League is, interestingly enough, one of those games we can actually kind of point blank explain. 3-on-3 Demolition Derby meets RC cars and soccer, I feel, is the nice 3 pieces of that concoction. And again, you're seeing the players now for UNLV and BSU. The kickoff is going to start. It looks like JJ Sky goes in deep. And not so much of a contact there. The ball is kind of in limbo in the neutral part of the game. And it looks like we're going to shift on over to King over at UNLV, using the height to his advantage, trying to set something up, a possible lob. Boise State now, a little bit of a misplay there as JJ Sky actually is finding himself in a good location.
Great ball control that we're seeing from UNLV here. Already BSU, Castro has scored, so we got a point on the board. Like I said, we're going to see lots of goals this game, both very aggressive teams. We had a lot of UNLV control during that setup, but as soon as a member of Boise State was able to get in a pop, there was no proper defense there on UNLV's side.
Absolutely, and now the kickoff is off and good to go. It looks like, yes, a nice little shot there from Boise State University is going to land. Esero already has himself a pair, and you see the great move there from JJ Sky, lines this up right off the wall. A great one-timer shot is going to find the net, and that's another one BSU.
What a beautiful turn there. He hit that exactly where he needed to get the turn back towards the net. Hopefully we will see UNLV throw some aggression back their way. That's 2 for Asro, though.
And it looks like going to get up into the air this time around. One of the interesting parts about Rocket League is the gravity is subjective at best, collecting some more boost, but very low right now. Mango trying to make something happen. He's going to instead pick up the boost and pass it off to his teammate, dribbling down the entirety of the field.
Great jump over by Cosmo Buster there to redirect the ball. We've got a bunch of points here, 1 single assist from one member of Boise State. It changed too quickly for me to call that out.
There's so much action. The camera is jumping all over the place. Some great aerial moves. King from UNLV is going to sneak it in. 2-1 the score as the first minute expires here in this game of Rocket League. Great aerial shot. It is dead center, dead on, and will find the net. One of those disrespectful where you try to catch up to it, you try to boost, and you just can't, unfortunately. But
right, we saw a lot of wasted, or not wasted, but a lot of boosts run out in that play, and luckily that boost that King scored with was just enough to push it in. Great defense there from UNLV, getting the ball away from the goal, but it looks like Pib is going to turn back around, and we do have it moved over towards the blue side. 2-1 in this game, sorry, 3:35 on the clock.
And Mango was able to actually get that out. Ooh, a very close shot on goal. UNLV is gasping since that was almost a free shot and a free point, but instead we're going to clear it out right now. A little bit of a misplay there, but it will be pushed forward. Rotations are coming through for UNLV, but Boise State has just had dominating presence in both of these goals, as well as they had an awareness of the first.
Beautiful, beautiful kick there. We've got a very close match on, a shot on goal, and it was defended there by Pib. Fantastic defense, pushing it back towards the blue side.
Israel's going to come in and strike this, hopefully, if he can, but instead will opt to bounce it off the wall to set up his teammates.
Demolition there. We've got a demolition on the side of UNLV.
One of the interesting parts of this game is the fact I mentioned the Demolition Derby. Lisa just mentioned it as well. You can make your opponent explode so long as you hit them hard enough and with enough boost, and that is exactly what happens a handful of seconds until the respawn. Aerial shot is too high, and that will just bounce right off the wall. JJ Sky trying to make something happen. Ooh, great move there from Esero to continue the pressure here on their opponent's side. 2.5 minutes left in this game, in this first match.
Combo Buster's getting a lot of great aerial hits, but some of them have been misplays and actually getting the ball away from UNLV's goal. So we've pushed it back over to Boise State's side. However, Combo Buster did do a great job of preventing UNLV from getting it in there. Let's see, we've got King there pulling up around. JJ Sky now picking up some boost, trying to get the ball back to the other side.
This is a great setup here from Boise State. Oh, it almost got knocked in by UNLV, but then knocked back out by Boise State University. It's just one of those unfortunate things where the individuals were just trying to do their job and instead ended up doing the opponents, and the ball is still in possession of, well, it looks like Boise State now as I open my mouth.
No, that was a great pass back by King, actually jumping onto Asro, who was trying to get the ball back towards the goal line. Let's see, not quite a shot on goal. UNLV was able to push that back. King doing a great job of getting the ball away from the goal.
A little bit of a hey, how are you between the two teammates from Boise State University as they peel back to grab a little bit more boost. Great aerial play is going to put this in the corner. Are we going to wrap it around? It gets pushed out by UNLV.
Yeah, a lot more mobility, it looks like, from the player, from King, for instance, but mostly the players from Boise State. We have a lot of aerial play coming from them, whereas UNLV has attempted to keep it a little bit closer to the ground, a little bit more control on the ball, a little more direction from them.
That was a great wall right there. That's a nice wall. Continuing on, more boost picked up here from Pib and is going to get the demolish right there. It says, get out of my side of the field. But the ball almost rolls into his goal in the meantime while he's moderately celebrating. A shot is wide. Another demolition there, and it's going to put Boise State down a little bit. They can, and they get this ball out of the area. They are going to give it a nice clear and move forward on towards the enemy's goal line. More boost picked up here. JJ Sky trying to make an aerial play happen will opt to instead pull back and set up a defensive move while his other two teammates continue. 30 seconds remain.
Great pushback there by Cosmo Buster with that aerial shot. Like I mentioned before, Boise State playing very much so up in the air, trying to keep it off the ground because UNLV does seem to have the upper hand there. We get it tipped off the ceiling. And a bit more defense coming from Boise State.
Great
Looks
shot.
like JJ Sky shoots
and
scores.
JJ Sky playing what appeared to be in a defensive play, actually, as, he's trying to stop this from going in, and a beautiful redirect will get the bounce and the in. That is 3-1, and that could spell disaster for UNLV here in game number 1. Looks like Mango set to take the face off for his team. The ball is going to end up in that back corner. 10 seconds remain. I have seen crazier games, but unfortunately, I believe this is round number 1.
Mid-air demolition, that was very cool to see. That's through 4 or 5 demolitions, I believe, from UNLV. So they're playing a lot more aggressive and, like I said, faster towards the ground. Boise State taking that first match, though, 3-1 because those aerial shots are just too good.
Well, not to mention they were playing a heck of a defense game as well. UNLV did a very, very good job of just those early goals that sneaked on by, unfortunately, that spelled the end of game number 1. JJ Sky did great, and actually that is probably the most demolitions I've seen by one player in a single game. Again, I can't remember who it was, unfortunately.
King.
Was it King? Okay,
Yes.
Great. King ran around and made sure everybody had to respawn at some point in time, which is something you don't see every time in Rocket League.
Yeah, really good focus by UNLV on picking up those boosts and making their way to a potential defensive or potential offensive position, trying to do their best to anticipate where the ball is going to go, where Boise State might be. But because Boise State was responding with so much aerial play, it was very difficult for UNLV to do that. So it's worked out well in their favor. Not to say that UNLV's play style was any lesser than Boise State, because we did see it work to their advantage consistently. But they are going to have to prevent some of those shots. We've got the kickoff now. It looks like UNLV has the first hit on it, bringing it over to their side.
Looks like Pib going to try to make something happen. Instead, is going to whiff it. Another shot on goal is not going to go in. BSU Esero, very similar within the first 10 seconds, finds himself a point for Boise State University. And an aggressive one at that. Look at this. A great volley. It goes a little too high and buries it in the back of the net. Esero very stoked about that. And we continue on. Pib going to take this face off as well. Grabbing some boost on in. It looks like this will end in BSU favor, as the rest of UNLV tries to get this out of here. That is a great play there. That's going to be popped up, and he's going to have an open net. Is it possible? Boise State Combo Buster says, get out of here. This is my goal. Continues to push into UNLV's offensive side. And now the move is up, and it looks like a little bit of a flip there, a little aerial maneuver.
That was great defense, though, getting it at least away from the goal. Oh, and barely tips the top of the goalpost there. We're going to try to swing it back around, but BSU has something else to say about it. It looks like Acero wants to line it up for the rest of his team, but Pib is able to push it back out. King bringing it around. And Cosmo Buster almost pointing it towards BSU's goal there, at least getting it on the side for Boise State, and maybe Mango, looks like King tried to make a play there, but getting it back onto the UNLV side of the court.
Mango's up 2v1 now and is going to try to keep this ball away from Boise State University. We do have to give a thumbs up where it is due. Boise State University has done an unbelievable job making sure this ball has remained in their control, and have scored from just about everywhere. The only place they haven't is off of the roof at this point, whether it's bounce plays or the bounce passes. Yet another flurry of shots here for Boise State University, keeping the pressure on and heavy. And a missed shot there from UNLV will be just a tad high, will allow Boise State to continue the counterattack. That's a great setup. Will it allow for the follow-up? It does not look like it. Looks like we'll take another opportunity to make this happen. UNLV now is on the defensive side, trying to move forward. Aerial play is going to immediately be staunched by JJ Sky as they move now back onto the offensive.
There are those aerial hits we're seeing from UNLV. They are learning to go against their opponent here. We've got Cosmo Buster doing a great job on defense. He's been staying right near the goalpost and getting some great aerial shots to at least prevent UNLV from getting into the goal. And now he's moving his way back over to UNLV's side as Acero tries to get it towards the center, but Mango just jumps right over it, and Acero is going to tip it back to his teammate. Does end up pushing it towards their side of the field, though, unfortunately. He's going to play defensively and at least ensure that the ball gets as far away as possible from their goal.
And Boise's also doing a very phenomenal job of having somebody in goal, whether it's deep or just on the outskirts. Their rotations of players are actually are pretty solid right now, and that will meet with their aggression. UNLV trying to make something happen, but has spent more time in their own zone than they have on the aggressive side. A little bit of an interesting shot there from Boise State. Was a little closer than comfort as far as almost a goal, but a nice response there from UNLV, going to unfortunately miss the follow-up. The dribble down towards center is not going to give ground to either one of these teams. It looks like Boise State looked to make a stop, could not do it. Mango picking up the first one for UNLV. Is he salty, or is he saying the other people are salty? I don't know. Either way.
That's, yeah, he can take it all.
1-1 is the score with 2 minutes left here in game number 2.
Yeah, we've got a lot of, as you said, the rotations from Boise State have been very on point, but we do have plays coming from every single member of UNLV. And there we go, Cosmo Buster getting his first score on the board. That's one for at least every member of Boise State here. It looks like Asro is leading in that, but we've got some great defense and offense from every single player. This is a great game so far from both teams.
Well, and Cosmo Buster didn't even intend for that really to go in. It looks like it was an obscure amount of taps there from other players is what
he
ended
meant
up
for it to go.
right. That is the goal of the Rocket League, but again, was just making a defensive play and is rewarded with not only the ball but the point. 2-1 in Boise State's favor now. Playing a little bit of a safer game, Cosmo Buster, again, putting his first points on the board always feels good. A little bit of a morale increase, picking up the boost, the aerial shots that you were talking about. Jolly
Great
continuing
turn
to come
there.
in.
Yeah, Asro is doing the best he can to set himself up in a position with boost and in line to make a solid shot onto UNLV. But Cosmo Buster's doing a great job of backing it out and at least attempting to line that up. JJ Sky's just everywhere that he needs to be now. And as with UNLV, I mean, we've seen so many great shots from
the
him,
carry.
now from Mango and King. Not any demolitions this time, unfortunately, but they are playing it very, very close to the ground. Oh, and Cosmo Buster gets his second score. 2 in a row, puts the game at a minute 4, 3-1, same score as the first game. There are no winners in this. We're all winners right now. The tournament is going to be officially on Saturday, where we'll see 7 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So let's see if UNLV can get themselves on the board again after that
that
shot
is
in the
a
last
great
minute.
shot. 1 minute remains now. Can he follow it up? It does not look like Cosmo Buster looking for the hat trick this game. Instead is only going to find the second one. Another really awesome setup here, but unfortunately JJ Sky jumping a little wide in that aerial attack is not going to be able to make anything happen. Another shot there from Boise State. UNLV will save it and knock it back out. Acero, though, going to try to make something happen here, is playing off the wall. Can they get another one? This will be 4-1 if they can. A nice save there from UNLV. King making sure he is just that for them. Again, 30 seconds remain. This is still a very much winnable game for UNLV, especially if balls go by like that. Instead, Boise State responds in kind, sending the ball back towards the UNLV area. This is going to be the play that Boise State typically scores on, where they bounce it off that corner and make sure that they have that strike as well as the flank. Unfortunately, doesn't capitalize this time around, but they will be okay here going into game number 3, as I do feel this will be a win number 2 for Boise State.
And we'll notice the game doesn't actually end until the ball hits the ground after the timer counts down to 1. So if players are able to bounce that ball and dribble it up in the air, even ride it off of the ceiling, the game will not end until it hits the ground. So we'll see a lot of that juggling towards the end of the matches in an attempt to make it go as long as possible or to throw it to the ground.
Boise State feeling pretty good right now, 2-0 in this best of 5 and a decisive 3-1 each game. Right now, the aerial plays are absolutely real. They're getting, like you said, every one of them has scored from different areas. And again, the aerials have been spot on. The boost in defensive play has been absolutely there. So UNLV just hasn't been playing a poor game. They've just been getting outplayed, but like outlucked almost. The ball is bouncing in weird ways that is allowing for Boise State to just take these weird shots that are finding the net.
Yeah, it feels like the rotations from all of the players on Boise State are so on point. We had Cosmo Buster for the most part defending, but the second he was able to hit the ball, carry it around to UNLV's side, somebody from Boise State, whether it was JJ Sky or Asro, moved themselves back in a position to both defend and set themselves up for another play. So if we can see more from UNLV, that rotation, not all of the players clumped up in one spot. We've seen some amazing hits, some amazing plays from them, but if they don't go through, they don't really have a preparation to respond. We get BSU. Asaro is going to get the first hit on this ball in this game. Mango is going to tap it back towards BSU's side. It looks like, we missed just, I don't know, it's 4:50, wow. It's been a long day here. BSU 2 games. We have 5 games total that we're going to play here. Oh, almost a goal in for Boise State, but King has something to say about that. He wants to get it. 8 games. 8 games total today?
Okay, either way, BSU scores right now. It's going to be first point here in the first 25 seconds. Like I mentioned early, it looks like Boise State University is going to continue on putting points on the board. It appears we have 8 games total today, so that is new information for us, so sorry for the misdirection early on. We continue on here now. It looks like 4.5 left here on the clock. Boise State looking to make something happen. They are doing just that each and every minute. An aerial scuffle is going to basically fall exactly where it was, only on the ground this time. Boise State pushes forward, but isn't unfortunately able to find anything immediately. It does look like BSU is going to score.
That was a great, great goal. Astro has been performing incredibly well. We can see this replay here, line it up. There was attempted defense there, but not much that UNLV could do to prevent that.
Now we are here. Isaro going to peel off. He's going to be playing the defensive side of things. Unless he's the aggressive guy who gets a beautiful shot. It's going to carry it all the way in. That was a long distance shot. Give that man the medal because that was a beautiful shot. Right? And wait for it.
Ensures that it goes in, it follows it up. That's 2 for 2 for Asaro. He has made 2 shots back to back, and both of them made it through. Highest score on Boise State's team so far for 2 of these games, if I'm not mistaken. King, we've got King trying to get that aerial play up, and
JJ, dirty dog.
JJ, that was a bit of rude play there. We did have we had Mango in there trying to do some defense, but Agro did a great job, or Asaro did a great job of preventing him from positioning himself to defend.
Right.
So
Boise State commanding lead now.
Yeah, 4 now. It's only been about a minute in. We're at 3:58. UNLV still absolutely has the chance, though, to turn this game around. They need to play a bit more defensively try to position themselves more facing towards the ball. Almost have a goalie, essentially, would help them because Boise State, it seems, has been providing a lot of that type of defense, of sending someone in first.
Oh, no.
Turning them around, and unfortunately, it looks like Mango might have tipped that off actually into his
own hand
goal.
on it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the game where that can happen. If the rotation of your car hits the ball in a certain way and you're not quite able to control, especially midair, it can be detrimental for your team. So Mango, unfortunately, getting that one in.
Peeled off at the last minute, and that was almost a dead shot from the beginning. It would have been another point for Boise State University, but instead went a little wide, so UNLV will have a chance to regroup, recollect a nice deep ball there. Aerials coming back. For as much as we talk about Boise State doing a great job and UNLV doing just as well, the fact remains that Boise State has spent more time in the opponent's area than UNLV has even had on the end of Boise State. So, and we're not talking a matter of just a handful of minutes or seconds, but all 3 of these games have been in dominating fashion.
Yeah, like I mentioned with the style of defense that Boise State is playing with here, in setting themselves up so they're facing the ball that might be coming towards their goal, they have managed to hit it back the second UNLV passes it over. And generally they've been long shots that UNLV has been lobbing towards Boise State's side, whereas Boise State seems to have a little bit more control when they're bringing the ball down the field. They bounce it off, and either the same player that hit it or another player's already lined up and ready to re-engage on that. We now have it back on UNLV's side. We'll see if King has something to say about that. And no, Boise State is doing a great job with those aerial shots. King, like I said, trying to play back and get them in the air. But unfortunately, Boise State's cars are they're such high flyers. They're so quick that they're able to line themselves up exactly when they need to. So hopefully we'll see UNLV try to turn that around and play a little bit more of the ground game and keep it closer to those boosts that they need so badly.
Well, and this is kind of just indicative of the entire set here. Boise State only needs 1 touch, and that ball is generally within the vicinity of that goal. When it comes to UNLV, they're having a little bit of a difficult time even carrying it up the field. That may be the long ball that you were talking about, Jolly, as far as the shots are concerned. But BSU seems to not be able to do anything wrong. And what a great shot from behind. That was super crafty. But Boise State, again, just right away finds a ball, finds a goal, and that is another point for Boise State University, starting to run away with this one at 6-0 with a minute and a half plus left.
And every single member of Boise State having at least 1 goal in this one. that was Cosmo Buster that got that one. He's got 2 shots, 1 for that. I know Esro has gotten the most now for Boise State here. Immediately jumping back to grab those boosts. Mango is holding back, it looks like, trying to be that defensive side that UNLV so badly needs. And King, an attempted shot there, but hit it a little too high. He tried to make it an aerial play, and it didn't quite stay as low as he needed it to. Pib setting the defense now, trying to get that ball. Ooh, and it looks like, I'm not sure if that was King or who that was that missed the ball there, unfortunately. Great aerial shot there by King. Almost got it in the goal, but there was some good defense from the side of Boise State to bounce it away.
And it looks like UNLV will continue to put on the first bout of real aggression that they've had this entire game with 1 minute remaining. Probably a little too late, but an attempt is staunched there. Acero now showing Mango, hey, I can smash into you too. He picks up the demolition. Cosmo Buster isn't quite able to get anything on his shot.
And if you saw the stats there from JJ Sky, he has 2 of everything. 2 goals, 2 shots, 2 assists, and 2 saves. What a team player that is. Acero is going in for all of those shots. He's got the quick vehicle to do it. And, I mean, Cosmo Buster is defending where he needs to. They have very, very fast vehicles, and they're spending a lot of time in the air, so their defense is very on point because they can float themselves to exactly where the ball is. Lots of, aerial shots attempted by all 3 members of UNLV, and unfortunately they miss every single one of them. Again, they should be attempting to keep it a little more towards the ground, but BSU is doing such a great job of lobbing it in the air and sending it all the way across the map, aerial style.
And again, the defense side of Boise State is what is super apparent. For as much as you see the points on the board, they will pick up game number 3 here in this 8-game series. Boise State seems to be able to do whatever they want, wherever they want, however they want, and maintain full control in all 3 of these games, only increasing their score this time around. So it's very apparent that the air game is working well for Boise State. UNLV is making a lot of plays that are actually putting them farther behind than it is ending the issues. You know, they'll try to come in for an aerial stop, go flying right by, and not just 1, but 2 of them. And suddenly Boise State just has to breathe on the ball, and it seems to go in the exact direction.
Yeah, the biggest part that I'm feeling would help UNLV in the future matches here would be to stop trying to go for those aerial shots. The communication seems slightly lacking because, like you mentioned just a moment ago, many of those shots might be missed by a single player, but they're followed up by 1 to 2, a second or 2 after, as though they were all going for it at the same time.
Right.
And yes, if one member misses it, it's better to be in a position where you can recuperate from that, recover, maybe even have a defensive zone even if the player does make the hit, so that in case something happens, Boise State doesn't have the chance to respond. But yeah, the aerial play is phenomenal from Boise State. We saw some really, really good ground play from UNLV, but they just can't keep it down, unfortunately.
And another win right there off the face-off for Boise State University. Was going to be a little bit of a pass there towards the center, unfortunately not going to find its intended target, but Boise State is still able to put the pressure on here on UNLV. Looks like instead, for the first time in a very long time, a lot of aggression here from UNLV. They are fully committed to this, going to set up a little bit of a pass off the wall, but Boise State says we will take that instead. So it looks like an aerial shot could be incoming, and that one was way off, unfortunately. I do see the setup that was attempted there, and that would have been a very, very disrespectful stop and redirection from JJ Sky had he made that. But instead, Acero will bounce it off the wall, find himself at about the midway mark, and pull back to his goal instead. Now Mango gets some aerial time as well, finds himself the recipient of the ball. Looks like Acero, though, taking another shot. Instead, Cosmo Buster with the assist is going to clean that one up. Point number 1 towards Boise State University, and here in game number 4.
And you know what I'm seeing a lot from Boise State is they are aerial the majority of the time, but at the same time, they are twisting, spinning, and making aerial adjustments to their vehicles the second that they're up in the air. So even if they happen to hit the ball sooner or later than expected, they know that their vehicle's moving in the direction they want the ball to go. So while UNLV is trying to point themselves and maybe adjust so that if they can hit it, Boise State is lining themselves up so when they do hit it, it will go in the right direction.
That was a pretty aggressive use of a boost there. Like you were saying, Jolly, it's very hard for, oh, wait a second. Oh, almost had a shot on goal, or a point there from Pib from UNLV. Unfortunately, it goes a little bit to the left. But and I mentioned, I was in the process of, anyways, before the excitement happened, a lot of wasted boost for those aerials as well. So that might go to prove your point even further, Jolly, is that they're using a lot of resources to try to just defend, and instead are putting themselves in even worse positions.
Right, and the communication in this game is definitely important. As with any game, however, because this is such a fast-paced game here, because there are only 3 players on either side, positioning and knowing at least where your teammates are going to go. We just saw Mango and King face plant each other 2 times in a row, and it happens in these kinds of games.
Right.
That's not bad playing. It's just very difficult when the other team has full control of the ball, and you're just trying to line yourself up properly to respond to it.
It was a great save from Combo Buster, or Cosmo Buster there, going to make it so it's BSU's favor now here in this 3rd or 4th round of Rocket League. 2.5 minutes left. A great shot from JJ Sky will find the top left corner of the net. 2-0 is the score now in favor of Boise State University, with still plenty of game time left. A great little shot there. A nice touch there from JJ Sky, and that will net yet another point for Boise State University. JJ Sky now, he's going to be one of the first ones. Will he hit it? Yes, he does get the tail end of his car on that, which will allow for Boise State to aggressively move forward, bounce it off the back corner. This is where they like to score from. This is where they've been setting up each and every one of their plays. Will it be a 3rd goal for Boise State? Instead, it looks like UNLV taking it up the way.
And we are seeing a myriad of vehicles here. Jaeger, if I'm not mistaken, on the, oh my goodness, on BSU player there, Cosmo, which is the reason we're seeing such speed on him when it comes to defense. He's able to get in where he needs to, pop the ball in the direction it needs to, and make the aerial adjustments that are necessary. We've got a couple octanes that I'm seeing as well, so some good aerial control, and UNLV is trying to kind of take advantage of that if they can, but it's very difficult, like I said, when BSU just has full control, to reposition yourself and consistently stay either in control or defensive enough to prevent them from getting it in.
Absolutely. And Cosmo Buster going to try to put some more aggression here onto for Boise State. A little bit of a chip shot there from Isaro is going to only spell the beginning as JJ Sky flies on in from above and gets the 3rd one for Boise State University. His 2nd shot, his 2nd goal, and it was oh so beautiful jumping from the midway point to bury this in the bottom left side of the net. And so it looks like we are going to continue on here. JJ Sky trying to make his way forward. It does look like he will be able to. Neutral ground is gained, but it looks like Boise State continuing their ever so hard aggression here. They've done nothing but stand in the side of UNLV and found themselves the recipients of more than just a few awesome plays and goals on top of that. So what UNLV really needs to do is, hey, first off, maybe bring down the aggression a little bit, but at the same time, they need to keep an eye on these open wingers, if you will, as these individuals who are coming in, whether it's JJ Sky from above or Cosmo Buster from below. Because see, there's another great shot right there, going to be saved by King. But again, it's almost too little too late, as 3-0 is the score with 45 seconds left. A great aerial stop, although I don't believe it would have gone in anyways. Boise State University now clearing it out. It's going to be stopped by UNLV. Another aerial play by Cosmo Buster. A great pass shot, not going to land where it was intended to. 30 seconds remain here in game number 4.
And eating my words there, of course, JJ Sky, not on Jaeger, I believe is Endo. This is out of my first time casting this sport. We absolutely adore it, though. So hopefully we are doing it justice. I am seeing...
Pib gets a score here for UNLV.
Yes, I am seeing, however, if I'm not mistaken again, 3 octanes on the side of UNLV. So Boise State has a little bit more versatility.
See the Dragons?
I missed it.
Oh, they're Dragons. But UNLV scores their first one in 2 games. An unfortunate miss there on the face-off is going to allow Boise State University to continue to push. Again, they do have quite a bit of a lead with very little time remaining. So even if UNLV is able to put this in the net, it's not going to be enough to close it out. That is game number 4 for Boise State University. And then you can see the rest of their cohorts losing their collective minds. Some of the League of Legends players who also found themselves the winners of the first set of games today.
Yeah.
So good to see that they're there supporting their teammates and their friends and continuing on and so far, Boise State Rocket League looking very good.
Yes, and again, not that UNLV is playing poorly. It's more that they're trying to get their footing and figure out just how to play against Boise State's team. They have the upper hand only in play style because it's very, very obvious that UNLV is trying to keep the ball closer to the ground, trying to get those demolitions and get rid of Boise State's team and send it towards the goal. Because of that, it's a very aggressive way of playing, and they're not quite on defense as much as they should be. Hopefully, we'll be able to see them pick that back up and get some flexibility to the play style of Boise State, but it is working out very well for them, so I'm assuming they're going to stick with that aerial play.
And like I mentioned before the game had started when we were talking about our predictions as we move on to game number 5 here, Boise State loves to just, wow, that's a great start there from UNLV. Number 1, first point put on the board less than 4 seconds into this. So UNLV still has signs of life. Don't you give up on them yet, crowd, as we continue here in game number 5, resetting.
That aerial shot, and just what I was talking about as well, that Boise State is doing well. UNLV is now throwing into their rotation. They are taking the aerial shots, but setting themselves up so that if they hit the ball, it's going in the right direction, not adjusting their positioning so that they hit the ball.
Right.
A much safer way of playing, but at the same time, can be more aggressive if you actually do make those hits. Pib sending the ball away from his own side, going up on the wall there, and Asaro is trying to set himself up to both defend or be offense.
Oh.
And King, a great score there, sending it across the field. And those aerial plays, they're picking it up.
Look at this lob pass that is just absolutely perfect. A great nose tap there, and there was an attempt to stop it from Boise State, but it was not enough. So UNLV picks up number 2.
Yeah, they weren't there in time. Boise State now kind of on their toes. They don't really know how to respond to their own play style, and UNLV was just in this situation. So if they can carry this out, it's going to take Boise State a minute to regain their footing and adjust their play.
And a shot and a save there in the early moments of that play. Cosmo Buster going to knock it on out. A clear is well on its way. Boise State with the single tap. JJ Sky now putting a point on the board here in game number 5. That's, again, this is a huge shot. A great follow-up from JJ Sky. Sneaks it right past King and Pib. So that will make him a happy camper, absolutely, as Boise State tries to make up some lost ground here in game number 5. 4-14 left, as Boise State tries to make a move here. A nice little cross play is going to get one tapped in Acero. Where was the rest of UNLV? Give me that replay real quick.
That was a beautiful shot. Even the rest of UNLV couldn't have been there, really. They didn't realize that the ball that was going towards the corner was going to be tipped off so perfectly by Acero. He's getting himself into the air before the ball comes towards him, and he's anticipating exactly where it's going to be. Very, very strong player by Boise State. Now, if I'm not mistaken, again, we've got one from Acero and then one from JJ Sky. So every player of Boise State playing incredibly well. No one player is carrying this team.
Absolutely, and UNLV now does have a game on their hands. They had 2 points. They have since lost that lead. Still plenty of time on this clock here in game number 5. Acero looking to sneak it by, but all 3 members of UNLV are there to clear this ball out of danger. Although it's still not done yet. A great stop there from King, who is all over the place, but he can't be in 3 places at once. Cosmo Buster puts another point on the board and gives Boise State the lead.
Yeah, and that would be not one apiece. Yeah, Cosmo Buster, great assist there by JJ Sky, setting that up, and Cosmo Buster driving in incredible speed there again on the endo. And since we are seeing mostly Octane here in this game, the aerial play is really, really big with Octane, and BSU definitely has that advantage. Even though UNLV is playing the same vehicles, we're just seeing better spins from Boise State, picking up that boost, and then Mango redirecting it very well.
What a shot! Oh, that might have actually been closer had he not touched it, looking to make a little bit of a chip or a hot play there. It was unfortunate, but it puts the ball in a great position to be followed up, just skimming the goalpost there, unfortunately, for Boise State University. They will get a second attempt on this until Pib pips it out of the way.
Another thing that seems like BSU is doing is they're only engaging on that ball completely when they realize that it is set up in a position that they can actually attempt to score on. UNLV is following the ball around the field, whereas Boise State pitches it to the other side and then takes a quick second and says, hey, is UNLV going to push it back, or are they going to keep it on their side so we have a potential? Getting very, very close to Boise State's goal there. Pib now pushing it back, and a great push back there by Mango. Isro is popping it in the air, and hey, that was a great aerial shot by King. Unfortunately, a little to the right of the goal. They're gonna go again and just a little bit high. Hopefully UNLV can line themselves back up, redirect it, bounce off the ceiling. King is doing a great job of resetting that ball towards the center. Ooh, and it looked like Mango tried to follow that up actually with a hit, and King bounced it out of the way actually to prevent Boise State from grabbing it. Look at that tip. That was amazing by JJ Sky. This aerial play is incredible. The anticipation of where the ball is going to be at is almost unlike any I've seen.
Well, absolutely, and the fact that Boise State has capitalized on some of these plays that seem to just be defensive or rather needed plays have awarded them not only position but points. And that is huge for them because, like you mentioned, Jolly, UNLV will take a handful of minutes to try to get the ball into the net, and unfortunately, something will happen. Great save by King, and BSU still going to answer. That is an assist and a goal there from JJ Sky. Let's watch this again as JJ Sky directs that down. A great save by King, but JJ Sky coming in like a rocket man decides to finish the play there. 4-2 the score with a minute and a half left. It looks like Cosmo Buster will probably be in the back as King will also peel up and picks up some boost. Acero now a very, very slow roll, almost snuck that by while King was picking up the boost. Very fun play there. Bouncing it off the wall, though, is Boise State University, and they're really not in any danger at this point. The ball speed for UNLV has actually been quite slow, and again, the shots have been kind of wild, not very controlled, up to and including the aerial play that you mentioned earlier, Jolly.
Yeah, and UNLV has also consistently been out of Octane, out of boost here. Ooh, that was a great attempted shot there, but not quite quick enough. Boise State able to push it back. We see BSU a lot lining themselves up and running back to their own side to pick up the boost to ensure they're at 100%. Acero there, another score.
And I think that was more on Pip than anything else, unfortunately, because if we look, this is a pass to the side, and yeah, it looks like UNLV put that in their own net, unfortunately.
That was King, if I'm not mistaken, which, again, it happens. It does not mean you are a bad player if you get a goal on your own. Once you're aerial and flying in a certain direction, there's not a lot you can do to prevent yourself from continuing on if you realize that you might be hitting it towards your own goal.
You can pretty much cross your heart and hope nothing bad happens, and typically it's never in your favor.
Yeah, and we're seeing even like with the play that just happened there, all three cars almost on top of each other. We need to see a little bit more spread from UNLV. The fact that we have 5 Octanes, that's not a surprise because Octane is definitely the #1 car played in Rocket League by pro players and non-pro players. It is a starter car, so everybody has it right from the beginning. And if I am correct about that being Endo, I'm not 100% on JJ Sky, more of it's a premium car. But the fact that they have a little bit of a mix-up puts UNLV on their toes. Not exactly sure how to respond to the speed of Endo and the aerial play of Octane.
And you're absolutely correct, Jolly, as Boise State, playing with their food here a little bit, is going to let this ball subside. 5-0 right now. Boise State on the way to make a sweep. And they are feeling good. A little bit of a jiggle of the stick there, and it looks like the rest of Boise State is just all smiles, a little bit of rehydration, and it's just a little bit of a scary situation for UNLV right now, is that even though they had the early lead of that game, the overall play, the one-on-ones for Boise State are always favorable, even up to and including these one-on-twos where we see JJ Sky, who has somebody on him and will still manage to sneak that ball right past the goalie or whoever's playing defense at that time. It spells a little bit of a disaster for UNLV. Hopefully they can figure this out here going into game number 6.
UNLV definitely has the potential to prevent this from happening again. And that's what I love about this event in particular. We have 2 days worth of scrims, essentially. Several games where these teams get to go one-on-one and learn each other's play style and adjust themselves accordingly. So UNLV absolutely has the potential to come back. We can tell by their play that they are very solid players. They're adjusting to this aerial style, and they're doing it very, very quickly.
Right.
So Boise State already being solid at the aerial, it does appear if they're able to keep it closer to the ground, they might have the upper hand, or UNLV have the upper hand here. But yeah, the aerial plays are incredible from both teams now that UNLV has picked it up a little bit. And been a little bit more defensive and allowed each other to make their own plays.
That looks like it's going to be number 1 for Mango. It's exactly what you were talking about, Jolly, is that they found an opening, they exploited it, and perhaps even figured out the opponent's moves. That's a great little shot right there. It's just going to
Yeah,
right
that was
there.
perfect. Boise State not able to get in quick enough. It was a slow ball roll towards the goal, but it was directly on.
And a great spike.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So about 1 minute in now on game 6. We have a total of 8 games for this scrim. One for UNLV. We have been seeing some fantastic plays from both teams here. 5 Octanes. Again, I'm not 100% certain that I'm correct on this. 5 Octanes and 1 Endo that is on Boise State's team. And so UNLV adjusting their play style. We can see a lot more boost being picked up by Boise State lining themselves up. Great pitch back by UNLV and missed goal there, just a little to the left.
And that's going the opposite direction that UNLV wanted it to. They were trying to get a second attempt on that. Will instead be forced to clear it out, but in comes JJ Sky, who finds it and is going to put a point on the board there, tying this game up with 3:26 remaining. And this is kind of like JJ Sky's signature move, just like a missile, finds an opening, gets a nice little tap there at almost full speed, and just buries it in the net of his opponent. So that will even it up for Boise State, looking for win number 6 if they can find it. Looks like JJ going to peel off now and play a little bit of defense. Now Boise State with another clean shot. Will UNLV be able to stop it? King does get his wheels or a paw on it, depending on what you want to say. And instead, JJ Sky once again with that signature move. Very, very awesome at the short play shots. Is going to, again, continue to fight here in the center of this map. And instead now switching over to the defensive side as UNLV starts to make their move towards Boise State's goal.
You'll notice UNLV does a much better job when they separate themselves. We find them clumping quite a bit. Ooh, and that was an attempted save there from King. Unfortunately not able to get there quick enough. Very quick shot from Cosmo Buster. But yes, UNLV seems to be bundling themselves up, and when they do, they go for the ball at the same time, and because of that, if one of them misses, the other tends to, and even if they make one connection, they don't really have somebody set to follow it up.
Right.
Boise State, whereas we see them very well spread, and if one is out of boost, they'll go back to their side, pick some up, and re-engage. So it's 1 or 2 players at a time that really are juggling the ball or controlling it back and forth.
Oh, this is a beautiful setup. A nice 3-man there was looking like promise, but instead going to end up back on the Boise State side, and they will clear it out of their own zone now as it has returned to the blue side of the field. And you were absolutely correct, Jolly, mentioning the fact that they're clumping up. We've actually seen instances of 2 players running into each other multiple times, like we brought up early. And on top of that, causing more issues than helping, if that makes any sense. If you run into your ally who's trying to make something happen, not only does he get screwed up, you get screwed up, and that ball is probably going to end up in the back of the net. So.
It's such a fast-paced game, though. It is very difficult to maintain positioning and rotate the way that we've kind of been seeing Boise State rotate. As soon as one pulls back, I'm assuming the communication is just incredible, immaculate communication from Boise State. The second one of them pulls back or engages hard, the other 2 know exactly how to respond to that. UNLV getting better and better with each game for sure, though. We can see King making a lot of those great aerial plays, great defense, Mango being a little bit more aggressive, and then Pib just being where he needs to be. So if we can get that positioning correct by UNLV, they will be able to absolutely defend themselves against Boise State.
A little bit of a dead turtle there from the side of Boise State, just saying, I'm going to lay right here and try to stop it, which they definitely do. A save there from Pib could have been big for Cosmo Buster, but instead it's going to put the ball back into play. Minute 10 is what remains. Another shot in UNLV. King is the only saving grace right now for UNLV. Like you mentioned, not only scoring, but playing the defensive side of it as well.
Mango did get the one earlier on, but there were some great plays. Actually, everybody on that side. Towards the roof plays, King popping it back. All of them are doing a much better job of spreading themselves and being where they need to be. And you know what? Even if they're not where they need to be, that's okay. They recover from it very, very well. So we now have a ball shot on goal by Boise State. UNLV able to push it back. 1 minute remaining here in Game 6. It is 2-2. So if we don't see another goal here,
overtime.
Yeah, we might be going into overtime, which would be great to see. Good to see UNLV, like I said earlier, adapting to BSU's play style.
Absolutely, and this is a clear indication that they have taken note of what is going on with their teams and the scores as well. But it doesn't look like they'll be able to capitalize here. 35 seconds remain right now. UNLV looking for their first win over BSU here. 30 seconds, the aerial sways, not going to find a goal, but 30 seconds now is on the clock. It looks like Boise State University trying to make sure they don't let this ball go in the last handful of minutes. Very scary positioning, but it will put put that in an aerial position that will be very hard to score from and allow for Boise State to clear this out. Now moving it down the field, Boise State University looking to close out game number 6 right now. The ball will be cleared out by UNLV. 5 seconds remain now. Acero looking for the final shot in this game. We do have the counting down of seconds until this ball hits the ground. It is still alive, meaning either team can pick this up. Boise State almost had it, but we are now going to overtime. This is golden goal situation where the first team to score will be the one to pick up the win for this round. And a nice little setup there from Boise State. Some aerial plays. They're just going to hug it out in the air as well. Ball is still pretty neutral right now, but UNLV come out with it and moving it towards Boise State. A great shot there is going to actually almost jump in, but JJ Sky is also as defensive as he is offensive and manages to keep it out of the net and keep this game going.
That was I mean, it went into the goal, just not quite enough. The ball has to go halfway through. It does have to actually enter into that goal, and that was an incredible save. These aerial shots have been great, but King has been doing a phenomenal job now of turning the ball around and maintaining control of the ball on his bumper. So he carries it where he needs to as opposed to just slamming the ball to the other side like we were seeing a little bit earlier. And much better rotations, even just this game from UNLV, an astounding increase in performance.
Looking to neutralize may have actually been a bad situation as this is going to line up. It was very close for UNLV to close out this game, but instead Boise State now trying to make something happen, but the ball is too high. The shot does not make it, and now Boise State is on the attack. Can they find the opening and exploit it? The ball is up. The rest of Boise State is going to be forced to back off as UNLV has made the required moves to find themselves in their enemy territory now. Ball sent to the middle position at the neutral. A great shot there is going to be very high on the side of UNLV, so they will be forced to regroup. We are now a minute and a half into overtime. Like I said, this is golden goal, so the first one to score will be the victor here in this round. Boise State, again, continuing to push here, trying to just make sure that they can get a clean shot. That's the way it's been, Jolly, that you had mentioned earlier. These aerial shots are very, very strong and on point. A little bit of a lob there. This thing is slow falling, but Boise State still putting shot after shot on goal, trying to find something here as UNLV scrambles to try to find some kind of defensive maneuver that will allow them some sort of breathing room. But it looks like Boise State University, a bit of a misplay there, will allow for King to continue on into Boise State territory. But just as quickly as they received, it was taken away by Boise State University.
You know, I'm kind of scared for BSU in the upcoming games. Based on UNLV's adaptability to Boise State's play style, they have been doing a great job of essentially taking their play style and using it against them. And very, very quickly getting themselves into the positions that they need to be. Phenomenal games. Even though it's been a little one-sided up until now, we can see that UNLV has regained their footing.
That's open. That's going to be enough, and it is good. Boise State University closing out game number 6, and what a nail-biter at that. 2.5 minutes into overtime. And that was, again, that overcommittal that we were talking about. 2 individuals from UNLV come flying right past that ball, and it allows for Boise State to just slowly trot it into the back of the net. And that was something you had mentioned, is that, well, ooh, that thing's shiny.
Yes, this is the beautiful trophy for when we actually get to the tournament on Saturday, as we mentioned. So right now, we are going into game number 7, game 8. Based on, we have BSU winning all 6 games as of right now. But based on the play style for both of these teams, how are you feeling about the upcoming games for UNLV being the loser and BSU being the victor?
UNLV better not be trolling right now because they've played really, really well, actually. And again, it's just a couple of overcommittals that Boise State has been able to take advantage of, especially in their favor. But it seems, again, trying to remain as neutral as possible, that UNLV is having a little bit of a teamwork issue. Again, like we were saying, the overcommittal of players, not even having a goalie there. That final score actually was because 2 of the back-end players came through. But so I'm hoping UNLV can find something, but right now BSU is riding a 6-game high out of 8, so they've probably got to love this.
Yeah, and we have, if I'm not mistaken, the same number of games tomorrow as well. Again, not really, no victor, no real winners.
We're all having fun here.
Yeah, we're just doing some friendly scrims. Finally, a demolition. We haven't seen one of those in a little while. UNLV maybe hopping back on that train if they can. JJ Sky getting some great aerial time, but Mango and King are doing a great job of, again, responding in the same way. We're seeing a lot more rotation.
Great shot. Oh, man!
Almost defended that one out. Better defense from UNLV than we've seen in the past, but they keep seeming to try to defend
Look at Acro
facing
here.
the wrong direction.
Look at Acero here. Actually pops out King, so he's not able to get to block that ball. So a great disrespectful play there from Boise State University allows them to pick up their first point here in game number 7. Scuffle ends in neutral zone. It looks like a nice pop there from Boise State is going to put them on the offensive. And instead, nope, sorry, just kidding. It's going right back to UNLV. This is where the ball has spent the majority of these games, is back in this right corner for Boise State University. They typically have been bouncing it aerially and then just following with a really good spike or just an absolutely devastating just rush into the net kind of thing. But some good moves here from King is going to be denied. Acero can shoot and can block for that matter, is going to carry it onto the other side.
He's just everywhere at once, and UNLV isn't expecting his presence because he pops up out of nowhere. Being on Octane, but just manipulating it the way that he needs to.
That's an open
defense
field.
and offense. Looks like Mango tries to go for the block, but misses it just barely.
Ruh-roh Raggy.
The aerial, I mean, the jumps from UNLV have been on when it comes to timing, but the actual height has been a little difficult.
It's just by a little bit, and that's, you know, has put them on their backs more than a handful of times.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and well, you know what? Maybe I think the timing actually does have a lot to do with it. Timing, they're in the right position at the right time, but they need to jump a little bit sooner so that they get the higher shots.
Right.
But they have been putting a lot more offensive pressure on Boise State. We've got King coming in, maybe trying to push the ball away from that goal. Mango playing defensively in the goalie box. We have 2 members of Boise State in there as well, just trying to push him out. Doing such a great job of offensively preventing defense. Not just playing offensively, but preventing the other team from keeping the ball away from
doing their
goal.
jobs, essentially. Absolutely. We saw in goal number 2 here for Boise State University the removal of the player in the field. Left the goal wide open. There was nothing they could have done about that. Another aerial play is just going to fall to the floor. As you mentioned, UNLV trying to make these aerial plays happen, but they're just off by just a half a second, maybe not less.
That was a great block, though, by Pip. That ball most likely would have gone in, so it was a fantastic save, even though we didn't see the ball coming in, actually. So he preceded the ball there, knew exactly where it was going to be. So Pip has been trying to play a little more defensively along with Mango, where they've got King trying to play those offensive roles. And Acero's just so darn good
that
with
is
those.
a gnarly clear, too. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what I'm seeing? Right off the post, right off the edge there. And UNLV doing their best to keep that ball away. We're starting to kind of see them clump again. We saw them last game not clump nearly as much and spend a lot more time, going back, regaining boosts. JJ Sky just taken out there by Mango. The King, or the names are a bit difficult, so I apologize if I am misreading at any point. But UNLV making a great shot. Yeah, we're seeing them clump again, and we really need to see them spread themselves out, because when they do, and when they focus the objectives and communication, they do a much better job together. We can see that.
But BSU, for one of the first times, accidentally misses that one, and it will be back in their zone. You're absolutely correct, Jolly. As far as UNLV, they were looking great on their own. It's like when they get together, they just want to play bumper cars, but you're supposed to be hitting your opponent's vehicle, not your own, let alone your teammates. This is going to be another great shot here from BSU. It's going to be a little bit to the left, and Pib is going to be forced to clear this out.
And we'll see, too, when Boise State is playing defensively, when the ball is towards their goal, they're not all 3 right next to the goal in attempts to block it, because at that point, it is possible to tip it back into your own goal. You'll see just 1, maybe at most 2 players being defensive, the other lining themselves up to carry the shot back if it does make it across, which is very smart, because then you don't have to worry about hitting hitting your ally cars,
right.
And can just focus on getting the defensive plays, holding back until you need to. And Acero is doing a great job as well of popping himself and flipping himself to gain the extra speed and positioning that he needs to. So we've seen a lot of plays by him. 30 seconds remaining now. This is game number 7 in favor of Boise State. JJ's guys is getting demoed all over the place, but it's not really helping UNLV. It's a good shot, but a little bit high, and such great. Actually, did Mango? It looked like Mango kind of almost pushed that out of the way.
We'll say it was Boise State's fault. right now 2-0. The score, 10 seconds remain right now. King trying to just find something for UNLV this round 7, but it does look like that is going to be the end of that. A handful of seconds to play around with the aerials. It looks like that is that. Oh, no, never mind. I thought for sure okay, there we go. Game number 7 in favor of Boise State University. They're looking for the perfect evening right now. All they need is one more win to do so. And as you can see, players rehydrating and definitely confident with what is going on here. They've been doing no wrong.
I think I got it. I think I know what UNLV has to work on to really oppose Boise State. We're seeing a lot of the attempts to counter the aerial play, but we're seeing a lot of the jumps and then the mid-air jumps, and they have almost never been successful for them, because at that point you're throwing the car in a direction you hope to be, where the ball is at.
Right.
But if you miss that, if you hit the jump, you're kind of screwed. You have to wait for yourself to float back down.
Right.
Whereas Boise State gets the first jump, makes it in the direction they want to go. If they miss it instead, they turn it around. That's the end of that play. So if UNLV tries to play this with single jumps in the direction that they need to and not adjust themselves midair, I think that they're going to be a lot more capable in the next couple games.
Well, at this point, they might also want to find a magic genie to make something work here, because they are down 7-0 right now. Anything at this point is worth trying, as it might be the Achilles heel for Boise State University, who is on that god tier right now of 7-0. 4.5 minutes left in this final game, as UNLV looking okay here. Definitely spacing out like we talked out before, but it looks like Boise State gonna drive this one in as well. Cosmo Buster finds goal number 1 here with 4:16 left, and just basically carried this guy in a perfect dribble. He wasn't even fast enough, and yeah, like I said, Cosmo Buster just made sure that was in. Got a little bit of help from his buddy as well.
Yeah, Acero was the one that dribbled that one up.
Gotcha.
And yeah, Cosmo Buster, that's several times we've seen him, or seen Acero or JJ Sky line up the ball, and then Cosmo Buster line up and just come in with the final shot. So a lot of these assists that we're seeing from Boise State are not so much of, two players passing the ball around, but one player driving it in, and then the second player actually making the shot, ensuring that that they have two people at least in relative control or potential
Great
control.
lob there is going to be high and wide, unfortunately, for Boise State University, and they will now find themselves on the defensive as in moves Pibb. He's looking to spike this thing in, but it's going to be removed by Acero, who says, "Not today, friend." Is going to continue pushing this down on the right-hand side of the map. And a little bit of a neutral move there, a great bump as well from UNLV. Will find an aerial play. Not going to be successful, unfortunately, as Boise State now trying to make sure they don't toss this one. A 1-goal lead is not a whole lot, and we saw what happened in game number 5. A nice cross path is going to open up an opportunity for Cosmo Buster. He's going to readjust. The rest of UNLV goes right past him, basically using a lot of their boost for no apparent reason. A defensive demo there for JJ Sky, taking out King in the process. Looks like Boise State now doing a very good job on this defense, which we have seen this entire series. A nice pass there to Cosmo Buster is going to be tipped, so a little bit to the right, unfortunately.
Great block there. That would have gone in if he was not able to hit that aerial shot. Tipped it just slightly to the right of the goal. Doing a very good job as well of getting those boosts. And we've got a shot just a little to the right, though. King is going to protect that. And it looks like Acero's trying to line that back up. Almost shot in by UNLV's own team. Cosmo Buster readjusting on their side of the field. Pibb is going to pass it back, but Cosmo Buster's going to hit it mid-air and say, no, none of that. We don't want any of that.
And yet another one for Cosmo Buster as he puts the second point on the board.
2 goals, 1 shot. That's just how good Cosmo Buster is. He doesn't even need to shoot the ball twice. Tips it off. That was fantastic. Again, the aerial plays that we're seeing, the spins. So the ball being tipped off of, or popped off of the rotation from the vehicles on Boise State's side. So UNLV, not that they're starting to clump up again, but every time we see them clump, it is very detrimental. Every time we've seen them spread and take the rotations that we were talking about, it has worked out really well for them. And even if they haven't made a goal off of it, they have been able to defend properly.
At least stop the bleeding a little bit,
Yes.
especially we were seeing, like you mentioned, just detrimental to themselves. They're trying to make plays, but it ends up working out in the Boise State favor. A little bit of a mistime there from Cosmo Buster is going to to leave the field a little bit open for King here, who's going to try to recenter this ball. His teammate says, no, put it in the air. That's where we'd like it instead. And going to move forward, not finding really anything as the bottom carriage of one of these vehicles for Boise State stops that ball dead in its tracks. A nice deep lob to the other side of the arena is going to find relatively nobody. There we go. Looks like King tries to make something happen, but Mango going to be the one that sends this in the opposite direction. And Boise State really not too worried about it. They got a 2-goal lead. They got a minute and a half left.
And again, you'll see for the boost levels of UNLV, it's either 100 or 0. They tend to use it all in an attempt to get the ball, not so much when they think they can secure it or know that they can get it. Boise State, on the other hand, you'll see, has been using their boost very sparingly and only when necessary. A lot of aerial boosts so that they can get to the ball before the opponent, but not until they know they're going to hit it, not until right before they're in front. Whereas UNLV is using it to get to the ball, and it's actually preventing them from reaching it.
Right, and it's also not giving them a second chance like that was right there. Isro puts another one on the board. 3-0, 50 seconds left. And yeah, like you mentioned, so Isro was playing defensively there in an offensive zone, was able to put that right back in the face of UNLV. It is unfortunate, but it does look like this could be game number 8 for Boise State University. They will definitely be okay with that number, but it is only day 1 here at the Mountain West Esports Challenge, so these teams definitely will have an opportunity to readjust, and we talked about it earlier, Jolly, any team, any day.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see if UNLV will be able to find the flaw and adjust accordingly. And hopefully Boise State on the same spectrum doesn't get too big of an ego. And we all know what happens when that can, you know.
Well, we've seen with League of Legends at least. We do have different players now in Rocket League. So we're very glad to have all of these players come out and participate in the scrims, in the tournament. Multiple games we have going, Rocket League, Overwatch, and League of Legends. So yeah, great to see something like Rocket League, which is an accessible game here in this tournament, in this event. Maybe we'll see some of that basketball play we were talking about, even just for fun.
And a couple seconds left on the board, not going to matter. Why even bother? Because it's fun, that's why. Boise State University makes it a clean sweep. And we'll pick up game number 8 here, and that will be their victory, or at least a good feeling of, I don't know, epic proportions. That to skunk out an opponent is definitely awesome.
Yeah, and it's really rough, too, from UNLV. It is a difficult position to be in, but you can't let it bring you down.
Absolutely.
8 matches in a row. That was Boise State putting on quite the show match. But out of those 8 losses, that's also going to be plenty of market research for the UNLV squad, all 3 of them, to take stock of what happened, nurse their wounds a little bit, maybe get some ice.
Absolutely. A couple of stitches, maybe an MRI.
CAT scan something, relax just a little bit. But that was our second, like we said, our second set of the day. We had League of Legends today. We had Rocket League as well. Tomorrow, we have Overwatch and we have Rocket League. Now, I know, obviously, you guys are familiar with the Boise State lineup. Are you guys excited for the Overwatch matches tomorrow?
We're excited for anything video game related in general. When it has to do with Boise State, which we're involved in, and then when we are participating in it, oh my gosh, yes, we both play Overwatch.
If I'm not mistaken, one of those players from the Rocket League team are also on the Overwatch roster as well, but I'll have to double check my stats there.
There's a few crossovers, yeah, for
Iron Man, some old school Iron Man setup. But as you can see, Boise State walks away with the victory. It's going to be 2-0 for League of Legends and then 8-0 for Rocket League. It was quite the spectacle for Boise State, but that does not mean that we are done for the weekend.
Oh no.
We have all sorts of action. We are wrapping up plenty of basketball games for the men's today. Tomorrow, we're going to actually have, for the Friday, there's going to be the Women's Championship. That starts at noon, and we are going to be here for Overwatch as well as Rocket League. If you are watching at home, make sure you tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 12 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be here. I'm going to be here. We've got Jolly going to be here. We've got Adam. We've also got 2 more casters going to be joining us for Overwatch. It has been a splendid day. Thank you all for coming out. From all of us here at the Thomas and Mack Center, the production staff, the crew, the casters, everybody, thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
And it's okay if what you want isn't body jumping.
tonight. Oh, just until the morning light. Oh, and it's okay if what you want is a breakup. All I really care is that you're here when I wake up. Would you please stay tonight?
And it's okay if what you want is body jumping.